Testing, test.
Can we have a roll call, Guido?
Commissioner Baird,
Here.
Commissioner Rana, Commissioner Woodson, Chair St. John,
Here.
Commissioner Chang,
Yeah.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Here.
Commissioner Walton.
Here.
You have quorum.
Hey, before we review the rest of the agenda, I want to acknowledge a couple of things before we get started. First, we have a mission statement from the Planning Commission. We have a land acknowledgement. These are at the top of our package, and they're just understood, but I want to go ahead and read those. We won't read them every meeting, but for the first one, as myself as being the chair, I want to let everyone know. The Planning Commission, as an appointed body of the City Council, will provide the leadership in protecting Marina's natural setting while developing the city on a way that provides a balance of housing, jobs, and business opportunities that will result in a community characterized by a desirable quality of life, including recreation, cultural opportunities, a safe environment, and an economic viability that supports a high level of municipal services and infrastructure. As a land acknowledgement, the city recognizes that it was founded and is built upon the traditional homelands and villages first inhabited by the indigenous people of this region, in particular, the Esalen and Olone Costanoan, their ancestors and allies, and honors these members of the community, both past and present. Okay. Now, for the agenda, we have the next item is a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I have a volunteer for the pledge. No? I'll do it. Okay. Thanks.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Okay, do we have any special announcements and communications from the floor? These would be announcements of special events or meetings of interest and information to the board and public at this time. No? Okay. Ex parte communications and quasi judicial matters. This would be in particular from the planning commissioners.
Yeah, I do. I had one of the city council members. It's already on. It is on. I had one of the city council members reach out to me 3 or 4 months ago to have a discussion when the first property sale came up and the first look of vendors or potential developers came in.
And then Chair St. John, Commissioner Woodson sent me a couple text messages identifying some errors in the liquor license staff report. And we will address that within Brian's presentation, but just wanted to disclose that. So.
Okay. Glenn, your ex parte.
Mhm.
Is that on one of the items of tonight's
It
agenda?
pertains to the liquor license.
Oh, to the liquor license. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay. Other than the two emails, which we all, I think, got in the mail, that was all for all of us. Okay, the consent agenda, approval of the minutes from January 22nd, our last meeting. Do I have a motion, or is there any comments or corrections to the minutes from anyone? If not, can I have a motion?
Sure.
Or
Make a motion to approve the minutes for the January 22nd, 2026 meeting.
a roll call?
Is there a second?
He did.
Commissioner Barron, Commissioner Rana, Vice Chair Woodson, Chair St. John,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Walton.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. The next item is public hearings, item number 7. We have 2 public hearings tonight. The first is a conditional use permit for the Marina Mini Mart. And the second item is the amendment to the short-term rental ordinance. We can start with the conditional use permit.
Give me one second, Brian.
We start with the presentation by staff.
Thank you, Chair St. John. My name is Brian Kim. I'm the Assistant Planner. I'll be presenting today on the Marina Mini Mart located at 320 Reservation Road, and it is for a conditional use permit. Next slide, please. So here is a map of the project location. Next slide. And here is a site plan of the site. The general plan designation is commercial retail service, and the zoning is core under the downtown vitalization specific plan. Next slide, please. So a little background on the project. On September 3rd, the applicant applied for a conditional use permit to allow for spirits, wine, and beer sold for consumption off-site, which is a Type 21 ABC license. And the site is a former 7-Eleven convenience store, which had a similar Type 20 ABC license, which is only beer and wine. And on January 9th, Chief of Police Randy Hopkins confirmed that the police department does not have any problems regarding the proposed use based on the applicant's statement that the alcohol sales will only occupy 15% of the floor area. Next slide, please. So the store will be approximately 2,400 square feet in size, and the store plans to sell groceries, prepared food, beverages, beer, wine, and distilled spirits. The hours of operation are Sunday through Thursday from 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. and Friday through Saturday from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. Beer will be sold in the walk-in cooler, and wine and spirits will be shelved behind the counter. Next slide, please. And here is a site plan showing where both beer and wine and spirits will be sold, highlighted in the red boxes. So, according to Marina Municipal Code, a finding of public convenience or necessity is required in areas of undue concentration for an establishment or business where alcoholic beverages are served or sold for on and off sale consumption, except when incidental and in combination with food or groceries. The city, with legal advice, has interpreted this incidental definition to mean no more than 20% based on previous case law. Next slide, please. And since the proposed use of alcohol sale will only occupy 15% of the floor area, and will be incidental to food and grocery sales, a public finding of public necessity by the Planning Commission is not required. The proposed conditional use permit would also prohibit the establishment from increasing the floor area devoted to alcohol sales beyond 20% of the total floor area devoted to sales. So as seen in the previous diagram, the beer and wine area will be dedicated 200 square feet, while wine and spirits both 80 square feet. So the total math would be 360 divided by 2400, which led to 15% of the floor space. Next slide, please. So once again, a finding of public necessity by the Planning Commission is not required, even though the site is located in an area of undue concentration. However, it is interesting to note that the previous tenant, 7-Eleven, holds an active ABC license, which but is no longer operating, and this license expires on June 30th, 2026 of this year. And essentially, the Marina Mini Mart would replace the former tenant and would not increase the total number of businesses. Next slide, please. Since the agenda was posted, staff has received 2 correspondences. One of the correspondents suggested, in addition to a limitation of 20% total floor area, a limitation of 20% of total store sales should be placed with the applicant, requiring them to provide sales records for a minimum of 3 years. Staff does not recommend this additional limitation, as planning's role should be to verify the land use and not to monitor business sales. Additionally, it would be very difficult to enforce this requirement without auditing the business. Next slide, please. So since posting of the agenda, Vice Chair Woodson found some errors within the packet. So the hours were, the dates, there were some mistakes on the staff report. So it should be Sunday through Thursday in the condition of approval, and Saturday, Friday through Saturday. And I forgot to take out for wine production in one of the previous permits I used this report for. So there was a correction in that. And we also decided to add for signage, temporary window signs shall cover no more than 10% of the area of the window, which is consistent with our municipal code. And that decision was to help our code enforcement, as we've been getting a lot of businesses violating this code in the downtown plan. So that concludes my presentation, and here's the recommended motion.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Now, do we open up at this time to the commissioners before we go to public?
Usually,
Okay,
we discuss things internally as kind of question and answer comment period on the commission. Then you open it up to public comment. You open it up internal to the meeting or online if you have online participants. And then after that is done and closed, you come back to the commissioners to discuss and have any corrections to the staff. Generally, when you open it up to the commission first, what you should do is ask the applicant if they're available. They would like to make a statement or presentation to start out the discussion.
is the applicant in attendance? Would you like to make a statement? Yeah. So state, turn it on, state your names, the record.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Abdullah, and this is Rashad. Basically, we're very glad to be in the city of Marina. Amazing community, and we have a lot of expectations on the way we run our businesses, and our standards are very high. And regarding the store at 320 Reservation Road, previously 7-Eleven for many, many years. And unfortunately for, I really don't know the cause for them shutting down their businesses, but one could assume financial reasons. But the way we run our businesses is we usually have a little bit of everything in our convenience stores, from for this one specifically, some beach towels and stuff that you might need for when you're visiting the beach or for people coming out of town. And regarding the liquor, it's just adding one more thing to the many products we would carry. And
Thank you very much.
thank you, thank you.
You stay here, we'll have our discussions and there can be some additional questions.
Sir.
Okay, now it's commissioner's turn. Start. Oh. But your light was on. Oh,
Do you have
okay. These are,
So we adjust that there and you can turn them on and off. So you turn mine off. Turn it back off.
okay,
It's like a three-way switch.
right.
We'll let you do it.
Well,
I would, thank you, Chair. My only question is, and it's more probably to the applicant, it says that there's going to be 80 square feet set aside behind the counter, correct? For
Yes.
spirits and wine?
Yes.
Is that right? That's 8 by 10. Is it going to be full bottles, little bottles, quart bottles? What's going to be back? Thank you.
For the bottles, it's gonna be the mixture of different sizes of bottles on the shelving.
So you have that shelving that's behind the counter.
Yeah.
You have about half of it are wine bottles. Wine bottles, they're typically,
There's like, there's like 1 liter,
750 milliliters.
there's like 750, yeah,
Yeah.
for the spirits part. There's
Not
like
that I know about this.
Yeah, for the spirit size, they got multiple size. They got like 750 mils, the 350s, the 200s. And for the wines, there's different sizes. There's like, I know they have something that's bigger than a gallon, like Carlo Rossi brand or
Uh-huh.
some brandy or whatever,
But-
other brands. It's multiple sizes.
a majority are 750 though.
Okay, so this 80 square feet, is that just the shelf space or is that the whole space behind the counter?
Behind the counter.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually the shelf space
That's
is gonna be
dedicated.
much less.
Yeah, whatever's dedicated to, it's like, what is it? They're like 4 feet wide each. So that's like,
Yeah, and about 2 feet deep.
less than 2 feet deep.
No,
Yeah,
they're
okay.
about 14 inches deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. All right, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. And just to let you know, I like to support local businesses, but also to care about the welfare of the community. The question here is the staff is the previous 7-Eleven has a Type 20 license, and now the Minimart requests Type 21. That will include the spirit.
Yeah, so basically when we came out to this location and we were looking for some things that we could change to kind of improve business. One of them was definitely the staff and have a more friendlier approach to customers and being a part of the neighborhood. The other thing is adding certain items that weren't previously there. So maybe a little bit larger miscellaneous section that would include like medicines, over the counter medicines and whatnot. Usually when people are traveling, sometimes they need, just random OTC medicines. The other thing was the liquor. 7-Eleven didn't have liquor. They had beer and wine, right? So we have beer, wine, and we added the spirit section. And a larger variety of fruits and snacks and stuff like that. That's usually, especially on Reservation Road, I think you're getting a lot of people come in from out of town and that's what they're usually looking for. But it's not, it's just an addition to some of the other things that we'd be adding.
Would you consider Type 20 license instead of Type 21 without the spirit?
So that would be, we're looking to, we want to stay in business and we want to be able to have some kind of competitive edge. 7-Eleven was a bigger brand, bigger name, and they were there for decades.
Correct.
And it was, you know, it's unfortunate to see small business in your community shut down, but so we're looking to build a better relationship with customers to get more repeat clientele. The Type 21 is basically it just adds the spirit part. Sometimes when a customer comes in, maybe they come in for a very specific item and they also wanted maybe a small bottle of a cognac or something like that. If they know you don't have that, then they're not going to come to your store. Maybe they came in for a gallon of milk and some charcoal and they wanted a cognac. Well, they're going to go to one location where they could get all that. Where there's you know, many other locations where they could probably do that. So you adding a certain item to your inventory also increases the sales of other items. And so that's kind of that's what we look at when we do our businesses. And we want to have a little bit of everything to make it very convenient for anybody who's wanting to stop by and support our business.
I'm glad you bring out the small bottle of cognac. So would you consider restrict your spirit to a small bottles for one single drink and not the big bottles of spirit?
I think
And
what's-
the alcohol contents maybe should less than 50%.
So I think from my understanding, I run a liquor store right now, and from my understanding, it's better to have larger quantity bottles than those, you know, those little, they have these little shooter shots.
Yeah.
Right. Typically you see locations that have a smaller variety of the bigger bottles and a big variety of the little shooter shots.
Mhm.
You don't want those, I don't want to say, we're after, our main focus is on customers that are, regulars and whatnot, but the smaller ones are the ones you kind of want to stay away from, the real small ones, not the smaller, sometimes that's plenty, but the shooter shots, are they 2 ounces? Yeah. Most of them are, I think, 1.75 or 2 ounces. Those are the ones that we kind of want to not have, just because we notice we have better customers that way. We have less problems with customers that way. And I think that's probably the better route to go.
Okay.
Yeah. Because usually somebody buying a bigger bottle, they're having something going on in their home, some kind of festivities are going on. But the smaller ones are, just, I think. Yeah. Okay. All right. I just don't want to, I want to be careful with the words I choose. We noticed that when you have that product, you're getting the unsavory customers, and we want to have, we want to have a good business, and we don't want to have any problems with any of the customers.
Okay, the next question I had is the state license allow you to sell alcohol until 2 a.m. And what is your operating hours?
Say that again.
What is your operating hours of your business?
It would be 6 a.m. to midnight, and Friday, Saturday, we have it up to 2 a.m. But we haven't operated in Marina before, so we don't know. We might even close a little earlier than that. But we have it started. We're going to start off that way, and we'll try it for the first year that way, and then if we need to make adjustments, we'll make adjustments. But it's 5 days out of the week, 6 a.m. to midnight, and then 2 days would be 6 to 2.
So you are new in Marina, is that?
Yes. Yes.
So just to give you some background information on the Marina liquor store, Marina Liquors, they open until 11:30 p.m. And Penny Saver Market and Liquor Store, they open until 11.
Mhm.
And Roger Food and Liquor open until 11.
Mhm.
Prince Liquor open until 10. Hot Food and Liquor open until 10. Dunes Market Liquor open until 10 p.m.
Mhm.
So would you comply with this
Well, What
traditions?
what I'm hearing right now is those are businesses, and they're seeing that there's no, maybe there's not a good enough reason for them to stay open later, right? Based on their sales, or maybe some other reasons might be there. But for us, we're new to the area, right? So we don't know what the business trends are going to be for that location. If it doesn't make sense for us to stay open in those later hours. We're obviously gonna change our hours.
We rolled the sidewalk separate.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. That's what it seems like a nice, like, it's a early bird town where everybody's up, that's great. That's amazing. And at night, I'm noticing that. So, but with the type 21, sometimes if you tell them, okay, I want to close at 11, and then you decide to change your hours down the road to midnight, you've already you've already tied yourself down to that original closing time, and sometimes it
have
could
to
be
ch-
issues.
I believe we'd have to change the permit, correct? They'd have to come back before us and change the permit if they wanted to increase the hours from 11 to 2.
Yeah, but if we wanted to reduce it, you don't have that issue. Thank you for
Well, from business point of view, if there's no customer, then what's the point of opening?
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think it's wise that for you to just operate according to the store hours of other liquor store.
And that's what
And they
looks-
may have experience, they know there's no business after that.
Yeah, and that's what it looks like we're gonna be ended up doing. I don't think we're gonna be doing the 2 a.m., but we just have that in there just in case. But in reality, I don't see us closing at 2 a.m., not in Marina. It doesn't seem likely at all, And I think what do you think? I mean,
For sure, just on the movements we've seen at night, it's a lot slower.
uh-huh.
So for sure, it could be adjusted, not a problem.
Okay.
It's okay, I think.
Yeah,
that
it'll
could
be adjusted.
It could
It'll
be
be
adjusted, not a problem.
And because of course, the security reason, I mean, we at night when in that area, mini mark area, I think other than the advertising signs you're gonna have, will you have security cameras
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Yes, we
and outside, not just only in the store?
All around.
You have to have security cameras all around. And that's just even for insurance purposes, for other reasons. It's always better to have more cameras around the building and in the building, and be thorough in that aspect.
And you have also maybe security measurement, having a police phone number, placed there just in case anybody want to call,
Oh, yeah.
make a
Oh,
report.
yeah.
Okay. The 20% alcohol floor space, you will comply with that,
Of course.
right? And
course.
and just the city will have to enforce it.
Yes. To be honest, we didn't even we weren't privy to that information that it had to be 20%. We were just told what would your linear, and we gave them the measurements where we have everything set up where everything's going to be, and it happened to fall under that 20% where it was 15%. And we realized that afterwards, but I mean it didn't matter because that's what we wanted anyway, was the 15%, and so it worked out perfect.
The surrounding of your shops, will you have bright security lights? And
So having bright lights is very important. I grew up in a convenience store. My father owned many convenience stores and supermarket, and any store he used to go in, sometimes he'd purchase a business from somebody, and that was the first thing. He was like, it has to be bright. People have to feel safe. So he would have energy efficient lights outside, floodlights, and just kind of illuminate the parking area at night. And that also prevents a lot of, which I don't see in Marina too much, but like where we're from, there's a lot of just homeless and whatnot. And so that's a big prevention right there. I mean, there's nice, big, bright lights. Nobody really wants to be right there, and it's safer for the customer too.
all right, I think I just want my fellow commissioner to know that my concern is operating hours.
Okay.
You could comply with the same as other liquor store.
Mhm.
I appreciate that. And also maintain that 20%.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you.
We could definitely comply with that.
Thank you, Chair.
Your turn.
Good.
Sure. So I have a number of questions, I guess, drafting and next probably for staff. First off, I'm not sure on the hours side of it, to be honest, that we have a right to tell a business that's opening what their business model should be. So I think the 11, the end of sales time for beer, wine, liquor versus overall store hours, that almost rings to me of blue law, having grown up in the South. and seeing what the blue laws on the weekends. I feel like that's kind of just an extension of that. So I don't know if that's a business decision we could do, but it is a condition that we could make if we wanted to, during discussion. My kind of take, and I want to clarify some things that came up in Brian's, letter that he submitted. So my understanding of the 20% is the 20% is a floor space issue, not a sales issue.
That's the recommendation, yes.
And there's nothing in the city guidelines that restricts a business that has 5% sales floor space and all of a sudden does 30% business, that would be a violation of current city policy.
Currently, that's not written down anywhere.
Thank you. That was my first question. So I think what I come down to is, and we're talking about single serving size. I mean, we call them shot sizes, but it's a single serving size. And I agree. I think that where I actually would rather, I think this was the same conversation we had with one of our other providers that we recently approved a license for in the city. And we had that conversation with that developer also about what was the appropriate size and were they for single size or larger sizes. And in that setting, it was a little bit different model than in this setting. But in this setting, yeah, I kind of would agree that I'd rather see larger container sizes than smaller. Single size is just easy. It's single size. You go in there and you just buy it and you're done with it. It's no different if it's a single beer or a single shot of liquor and you have it. And so that, I think that's a bigger issue to me, is the restriction on the size and not allowing that as a condition. My other one, and this is really, I think, maybe more of a staff question, which is going back to our whole kind of the definition of compatibility or undue concentration. And so we currently, when the city regulation legislation was written, and as it has not been updated in a while, so the way it's written currently, we allowed a convenience store, to have a beer and wine license here. And all we're effectively doing is we've changed the ownership of the property, and we're changing it because it's the same type of store with the same, hopefully similar type of customer base with the same type of beer and wine. We're going from a beer and wine to a beer, wine and liquor license. And I guess mine is, from looking at this from your experience on undue concentration, what would be a reason to look at this and say, okay, we didn't have an undue concentration before. Now all of a sudden, and we don't technically right now, because this license is currently, technically 7-Eleven still owns the license for another 4 months on that spot. What would change that from an undue concentration perspective that would make us want to deny this permit?
That's a loaded question. There's a lot of reasons why a city could deny a permit, but I think primary would be, do the first responders and the police department have issues? That's why we took a little bit longer to do some research, and we worked it out with the chief of police that if it's less than 20%, they would not object to the license. So yeah, that would be our primary, is making sure PD is comfortable, which by indications they are. So
That's fine. I knew it was a very subjective kind of question, but I wanted to kind of get your from the planning department. I think from mine is, I guess, coming back, and this is where I come back to the applicant. And so one question for you is, when I look at and I think of local convenience stores that are supporting of the local community, and that's what I kind of see this location as, where I look at a 7-Eleven, say, especially the way they're located in our city. They are built around a different demographic, certainly, but you're really looking towards fostering and developing the local population, and you'll have secondary sales to
Yes,
others,
and
but that's.
we have neighborhood stores.
Right, and so,
Yeah.
well, that's where I'm kind of going to. So unfortunately, the way our city is built right now, we do not, the way it was built out, we do not have that integrated neighborhood store concept that some of the other cities in our peninsula have, for example. So we have clustered our stores along two main roads. And obviously this is on one of those roads. So from a neighborhood, long way to get to this is from a neighborhood compatibility perspective of how do you foresee integrating into the community of Marina?
So what we've done in the past and it's not for any other reason than just to be, just because we feel like we're part of the community, we like to be part of events, local events and whatnot, supporting, like recently we did one in Modesto, we were supporting the fire department in Modesto. And, annually they have a picnic out there. And it's just when you're part of when you're part of a big franchise and whatnot, it's like they just, the customers are in and out and that's that, right? When you're building a neighborhood store, the customers really do feel like they look out for your business. And when I mean they look out for, like, they're not littering, they're not, you don't have to work, like they take care of it like it's theirs, and we've always noticed that, in the long run, it's always, better to get more engaged with the community and the customers.
That's that. I probably just other comments later. That was my main question. Thank you.
Commissioner Rana?
My first question is, why is one thing
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your.
Brian McCarthy's letter says, mentions about cumulative neighborhood impacts. So have you done some kind of study or analysis?
No, because that's not required for this permit.
But if somebody raises this question, don't we take that into consideration? Although, even if it is not defined by regulations.
Well, the planning commission can take all sorts of testimony and input from a wide breadth of sources and at this meeting, but for the purpose of this quasi judicial hearing, staff is duty bound to follow what's in the zoning code and what's in the general plan, and that neighborhood analysis is not currently a requirement for this particular type of permit. It could be in the future, but we have to follow what's on the books when the applicant submits their application.
And are there any existing guidelines on the concentration aspects of such businesses?
Yes, so within each census tract, there's a certain number that you can have. But the way the planning commission and the council rewrote the code last May or June, that undue concentration finding does not have to be made if it's an incidental use, which is why that's the focus of the hearing tonight. So,
And my next question is to the applicant. What's your past experience of similar kind of business?
I mean, I don't know where to start. I don't want to incriminate my dad for child labor, but growing up, it's from filling up the ice boxes and the ice cream machines and I grew up in a convenience store. Rashad grew up in a convenience store. And that was our life. It was school, work, sleep, school, work, sleep. I mean, yeah, it's, and that's why, and I think that's why we always built like strong relationships within the community. It's because we went to school with half the customers, right? This is a little bit different, but new territory for us, but he plans on moving here. He loves the area. He fell in love with the cold, nice, crisp weather here. And so we talked about it and he's moving over here and I'm going to help him manage the business in the beginning, until he's got a strong foothold here. Yeah.
Okay. And again, another question is that we had a similar kind of business here and that business closed.
Mhm.
And now you want to get in.
Mhm.
And you mentioned your reasons that you will add spirits and better service, community relationship and everything. That's a good argument. But what do you, I mean, what makes you very sure that yes, it is going to be a success, which is already paid?
Yes. So, well, I mean, we're not 100% sure it's going to be a success, but we want to do everything we can to make it successful. I mean, it's business, right? You know, the way we're looking at it is, what can we add that 7-Eleven didn't have, right? Which is not many. There's a few things, but not many things. But we could add that. The other thing is our customer service, right? That store had terrible reviews when it came to customer service. And we always, you know, our staff, it's a principle. They have to be friendly. You know, it's just not just common decency. They have to be friendly. You know, and that's what we expect from our staff, and that's how we run our businesses. And it's worked out good for us so far. Every business hasn't been perfect. We've had hiccups in some businesses. We thought we'd do great and they didn't do so well, you know. But regarding, I feel very confident about the location at 320 Reservation. Rashad obviously feels extremely confident about it. But we don't know 100%. So all we could do is the best of our ability, and the rest, we'll let fate decide. But we just have really good relationships with our customers. Yeah.
Okay. And this location already has, and they've done this business with beer and wine.
Mhm.
And your license is seeking to add spirits into that.
Mhm.
If that is not, say, permitted, not given, you will still have business, or it is your condition that you must have spirit?
So it's the condition that we need the spirits. Just it's like I said, sometimes it's one thing that really. One of my father's businesses was a check cashing. Well, I'm sorry, it was a grocery store, but it was heavily into check cashing. We had a lot of customers that would bring their payroll checks in and they would cash their checks with us. We had some issues with our bank. Our bank decided we're not going to deal with stores that have check cashing anymore. I guess it was too much paperwork on their end, and they're charging us fees, ridiculous fees, and it wasn't good enough. They told us that they were shut our account, and they gave us a heads up to look for a new bank to do business with. And so my father decided, you know what, maybe it's time. Let's, check cashing. There's some difficulties in that kind of business as well. So we decided let's get rid of the check cashing. About 2 years later, we almost closed down that store, and it was operating for 30 years just because we removed the check cashing. Those check cashing customers used to cash their checks. Guess what? They used to buy a 6-pack of beer and some snacks for the kids and a box of cereal. And so sometimes you get rid of one thing and it really affects everything else. And the more, you don't have to have a large variety. That's what we've always noticed. But if you have some variety of this and some variety of that, and like another thing that we're going to add that 7-Eleven didn't have, we're going to have a very vast dry fruits and snacks and nuts section that complements the wine sales. So it's some things work amazingly well with other categories, right? So, and what we wanted to do is just have a little bit of everything there, and I think we could manage to exceed our expectations in that sense.
And my last question again to the staff, that at this moment, the police has really given clearance that they have no objection and we can go ahead with the license. But if there is an impact, say, rising incidents, this store is located on the main road, too much traffic also. And if there is some impact, which is of police concern, will there be any kind of consequence for the?
Absolutely. So the planning commission and the city has broad code enforcement and revocation rights that we don't ever give up. If a property becomes a nuisance, we have our nuisance ordinance. We have administrative fines and penalties. We reserve the right, if after giving due notice to the applicant, to bring the applicant back before the commission and to revoke the permit. That's a little bit more of a lengthy process, but absolutely, we have every right to ensure the public is safe and follow up. So,
And that process is number 11 in the conditions of approval.
Thank you. I saw perhaps you.
thank you.
Okay. Let me take the floor right now for my questions and comments. And let me start. Let's see, a good place to start. Let's start with the applicant. When did the 7-Eleven officially become Marina Mini Mart?
The 7-Eleven, I believe they closed their doors, I believe in May of last year. And then we immediately started working with the owner and worked out our lease with them and whatnot. There's a lot of going back and forth there. But it was it September? Around September, possibly August.
Okay. Okay, so you've been there in business for,
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not in business yet.
it was open. I went in it this morning.
No.
No. So maybe.
On 320 Reservation Road,
It's right on the corner of right across from the hotel and the gas station.
Crescent. and-
Crescent, yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Across from the
Alright.
Chevron gas station.
I went into on California and reservation.
Yeah, different one.
That's another
That was-
mini mart.
That's the,
Oh, yeah.
that's the gas station change.
To a mini mart or something.
The upgrade.
Okay.
That was.
Okay. Their inside looks similar to yours. Okay. Okay, that's good. I think I want to transition not from the applicant to addressing more the issues brought up by Nora Westrak and our city council member. Right? Oh, okay. Brian McCarthy. And let me start with Brian's because I think that'll cover both of them. So you can see.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, Chair St. John, I just wanted to remind you, if the commission wants to continue to deliberate, that's fine. At some point, we do have to, I think the public comment period is open. We do have people online who do want to
Okay.
speak, but I defer to you as the chair, how you want to do that.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get the public comment and then I'll hold my comments until the.
Okay, so we have Grace Silla Santella who wants to speak, so I'll put her on for 3 minutes and go ahead, Grace.
Hi, Planning Commission. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. First of all, thank you very much. I really appreciate the depth of questions that you're asking of this proposal here for this site. One of the commissioners had spoken about how we don't really have neighborhood stores, but that in fact is not true. Just a little bit east of this location is a very popular Asian Filipino market that is quite busy and satisfies a large amount of needs of the Marina population. And their closing hour is 8 o'clock at night. I think 2 a.m. is excessive, and I really seriously hope you will reconsider that lateness of hour. And one of the reasons I would urge you to be cautious about the closing hour, the lateness, is that just directly across the street, you have a very high density residential community of apartment dwellers. And then just going further south on Crescent, you also have a high density residential apartment complexes. And I think you really have to keep that in mind as you're determining what are the appropriate hours for this business. I also am starting to have a lot of concerns about the security lighting starting to pop up around Marina in the commercial areas. And I think that if you could please look at language about security lighting, that it be downlit, that it not shine way out into the street. It would be greatly appreciated if you could have some conversation about that. And then the last thing I would say is this is the entrance into our core downtown area for our downtown vitalization specific plan area. The city council is actually looking at roundabouts, and I believe the furthest east roundabout would be Crescent and Reservation Road if they follow through on their plans. They're also looking at reducing Reservation Road to 1 lane in both directions, starting at that intersection. And I'm wondering if the applicant is aware of these conversations that the city council has been having. So thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Next up, Chair St. John, we have Brian McCarthy.
Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for your time tonight. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I am speaking in opposition to the CUP. And for me, the decision isn't about alcohol sales and whether they're legal. It's really about land use compatibility, cumulative impact, and whether adding another outlet in an already overconcentrated area serves the broader public interest. The census tract already does meet the Department of ABC's definition of undue concentration. The designation exists for a reason. It reflects a level of outlet density that is statistically associated with higher rates of nuisance activity, calls for service, and neighborhood impacts. Even when alcohol sales are described as incidental, the secondary effects are not necessarily incidental to the surrounding community. So although a formal PCN may not be necessary here by Marina Code, certainly the Commission is still within its rights to have that discussion of whether there's undue concentration. But I also want to raise a broader policy issue, and that is that there's really no metrics on when the undue concentration stops. And I kind of want to correct the record a little bit. The number of alcohol outlets in this census tract for off sale is 3, according to the ABC. Anything over that is undue concentration. I think you have like 6, 7, or 8, so well more than double what is considered undue concentration. If you do choose to approve the permit, I really urge you to strengthen the conditions. Really think about that closely. I heard some great conversation from the Commission about hours of operation and floor sale space. There were many Facebook comments that talked about how even the 7-Eleven, with even their license, some people frequently saw flashing police lights in their window, couldn't sleep at night, heard loitering noises late into the night, and it was really problematic. And so now you add a different kind of license that may even increase that, along with increased operating hours. And I think there's some real concerns to evaluate there. I would encourage you to make 10 p.m. Part of the business hours conditions if you decide to move forward with this permit. In terms of crime, I would encourage your police chief, or the police chief of the city of Marina, to provide crime statistics rather than whether they think that it's going to create a problem or not. right? Let's just use facts. What has the crime been there for the last 3 years versus what we think it might be in the future? I know me personally, I've seen people under the influence. In fact, just literally laying on the grass under the influence in that area. The last thing I want to say is just about the floor space. I'd really encourage you to keep the language in there about sales. And the reason is you can have 20% dedicated to alcohol, 80% dedicated to just seating area. And then you effectively have 100% of your sales come from alcohol, which I know was mentioned by Commissioner Woodson, and I appreciate that comment. I think that you will see a lot of sales related to alcohol, well more than the 15% that's being stated by the applicant. So really consider conditions. I appreciate your time, and good luck tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Anyone else?
Just giving people a couple extra seconds. I don't see anybody else that is online. Chair St. John.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Okay. Yeah, how about in attendance? Yeah, any comment? Okay. All right, let me pick up where Mr. McCarthy left off. I'd like to address the what is it called? He calls it undue concentration, that issue, even though it doesn't apply when the 20% of the floor area, it's an incidental to other food and sales commodities items. It's exempt from that, but just to take a look at that a little closer so that it isn't, but I'd like to point out that the undue concentration metric that covers Marina and other cities of California comes from the California Alcohol Beverage Commission. And the element that was quoted by Brian McCarthy for the city of Marina is 3 off-premises sale licenses and 7 on-premises sale licenses. That's according to Census Tract 142.02. Now, I did a little digging into that, and that is the statistic from the year 2023. Now, a little further digging, the population context Census Tract 142.02 is the estimated population for that census tract was 4,452 residents as of 2023. And it was for an area that was predominantly the city of Marina, but not solely the city of Marina. Now that the population today, or from the most current census taken in 2020 was in the neighborhood of 23,000 plus.
I saw that. The official one was 22,000.
Has she come in at all?
For 2020. Okay. Now for 2025, it was projected to be 23,150 or so, plus or minus. Okay. And we're actually into 2026, but it doesn't, we have to stop somewhere and use a number. But if we use the number projected for 2025 of 23,150 and we ratio that to the number that's listed for Marina with a population of a census tract population of 4,452, we come up with the 4,452 over 23,150 is a 19.23% or 0.1923. So if we factor the licenses to the current population or the nominal population of 23,150, we would come up with 15.6 factor or licenses, or say we'll just take 15 for a number to bring it more up to date. So instead of 3 licenses allowed, we would have 15 licenses allowed. And we currently, I think, our current license count is approximately 10,
That's correct.
not over 10.
That's correct.
Okay. So to add this license doesn't exceed the factor for census tract. We would not be out of, we would not fall under a undue concentration. So we can, I would suggest that we can take that off the table, even though it shouldn't be on the table because of the 20% floor space. Okay. So we can put that one to bed, and we would follow the 20% floor space because that is the city's municipal code. Okay. Have any comments?
Can I have a comment?
Yeah.
Chair? This 20% number is kind of escaping me. Okay, so I understand that we've got, like 200 square feet of a cold box for beer. And then we've got a counter where the employees stand, where the register is, where other services are delivered from. And then behind there, we've got a shelf. And on the shelf, which is 8x2 at the max and 8x2 for wine and beer, the 80 square feet does not compute for me. That sounds like a small amount of shelf space that you're putting spirits on. And so this doesn't equate for me as being an unreasonable request, especially if it's going to be the larger bottles, because I'm in agreement with the smaller bottles can lead to trouble, where the larger bottles may most likely will go home to be consumed. And also the staff in the store will be responsible for not selling that alcohol to anybody that's any condition that shouldn't buy alcohol. It's much more the square footage thing, Chair.
80, you have 80 square feet listed for wine and an additional 80 square feet allowable for spirits. That's, a shelf that's 14 inches to get 80 square feet. That's a lot of linear feet.
If you, once the store's fully, full of product, it's very, it's not, we have a lot of linear shelving in there, right? And then I know on the diagram, it was showing the big red box where the cooler would be, and but it wasn't a good portion of that cooler is non-alcoholic. I don't know, I can't really read it from here, but
There's like a line.
Yeah, it says walk-in cooler on the right side.
Yeah.
The smaller square says alcohol.
yeah. So the alcohol would be in the smaller square.
Right.
The rest of that would be
So I
your
think-
dairy products,
Yeah,
juices.
I'm gonna interrupt, 'cause I think I know, I'm pretty sure I know where we're going with this. So if outside of beer and wine, and we'll say we'll say that the beer is in the cooler, a walk-in cooler can be divided into two areas of usable space. One is storage space and one is consumer retail space. So the consumer retail space is when they open the door and they grab something out of a cooler. And so the 200 square feet on that side of it is part of the retail space of what's accessible versus the storage side of it. So I think that would be the maximum value there. Where I think what we're really getting to is on the wine and liquor set aside for sales space, not the storage. Because the storage space is back of bill. I mean, that's, it's in the storeroom area and it's just stacked and it's wholesale in boxes.
Yes.
From the front perspective, if we're looking at 80 feet and 80 feet. And what you're saying is that, okay, I'm looking at a counter space. I'm looking at a counter that is building wise, it's 20 feet. Behind the counter is 20 to 25 feet times 3 shelves. When I get to that, I'm coming up way less than 160
Correct.
square feet. So I think that then if the discussion becomes that what we're looking at is behind the counter, what the concern is if we approve 160 square feet, even though currently we are saying that the requirement is saying that we want that it's going to be behind the store or behind the counter,
Behind the counter.
but you only end up using 40 square feet behind the counter, you still have 120 square feet that you could actually put someplace else in the store. Because the permit itself is for the total square footage, not where the square footage is definitely located. The CUP is not telling you where you actually have to do it. This is your plan. Your plan is to have it behind you. This is your layout, but you can always change that. I mean, you have that, it's your business. So I think the concern, if I'm articulating it correctly, is that the intention is to restrict the liquor, and I guess the wine is to me is a little bit kind of an in between. I don't really necessarily care if you have beer and you have wine out on the shelf is not that concern. No, but the liquor side of it, if we want to restrict the liquor behind the counter, so that's restricted access, then what we're really saying is that 80 square feet, we would rather have that defined to kind of define what that real square footage would be. So that we can look at that true footprint and then set the boundary on that true footprint, which is arguably going to be much less than 80 square feet.
Yes.
I mean, did that articulate what you all kind of moving towards?
I wish I could have said it that way. That was very good.
I don't know if I said it correctly.
Eloquently.
So that, I think that's the concern that some of the commission has, is that we've had this conversation before on liquor specifically across the city in different places, that liquor is a business multiplier is the way I look at it, that it's something that does draw business in. This is a conversation that a couple of different developers have come in here and kind of had the same conversation, the same piece you are, that there are certain things that we want to provide to our customers that for X, Y, or Z reasons that match their business plan. And that's what from your side of it, you see one of the critical business items that you want to sell is liquor. You're restricting it towards the back of counter. Are you willing to re-looking, calculating, and I don't think we would have to have a condition on this, but I think the condition would be to staff if we created it, to add a condition that come back, work with the staff to figure out what the back of counter space
Really.
is. And then as a CUP is based on that determination of behind counter, that's where the restriction of liquor would be. That's what the revised number would be
For the spirits, correct?
for the
Yeah,
spirits
only.
portion of it.
Okay, so let's just assume, because I'm not the best at math, but.
That's okay. You don't have to be.
Yeah, let's assume that the shelf's depth is, I believe there were 14, but let's say we'll have about a couple inches of space between, right? So let's say we're using 12 inches and it's.
Make it 1.5. Make them 18 inches, make it 1.5. So I'll do the math. I'll do the math for you.
Okay.
So at 1.5 foot depth
Uh-huh.
of a shelf times 10 feet,
Mhm.
would be 15 square feet,
Okay.
right?
Right,
So if it's 20 feet, then we're at
30.
30.
So, and if we have five of those
And if we
shelves,
have,
that's
if we
75.
have, and if it's on a countertop, and it's behind it. And you have 5 shelves, and we'll do 5 shelves. So 5 times 30 would get to 150. That's assuming that you're using it from top to bottom.
Mhm.
So, and that's if you have an 18-inch depth.
Okay.
Now, what you're thinking about is, it's probably going to be less than that. And I think that's where we're getting to. At 18-inch depth and 20 feet length times 5 shelves,
Mhm.
you are right at 150 square feet. Does everybody agree?
So if
That-
you have
with that-
170 out.
So
That
but at
math-
150, so but if we're saying that the shelf depth is going to be
Yeah.
14 inches and not 18,
Mhm.
now you're going to end up having you're going to not have enough space behind the counter with 5 shelves. Just because you're losing 25% of that space, because going from 18 down to 14,
Mhm.
just assume,
Yeah.
well, 20%.
Yeah.
You lose 20%, so 20% of 150 is you'd need you'd end up being 30 square feet of. Just get the math. I got it.
So to help out the commission and the applicant, for condition of approval number 3, the commission can add a very simple sentence
what I
a very simple sentence that says, prior to final building permit or occupancy, the onus will be on the applicant to verify that no more than 20% total and whatever we want to talk about with the shelves. Just, we can just, it's a very simple, we won't give you your final occupancy until we go out there and we measure and we verify.
And that it is,
So,
Yeah,
it is less than that amount, and it is behind the counter space.
that's
So
fine.
I think,
We-
so I agree with you, and that's where I was getting to is flexibility wise, we don't need to do the final calculation because he doesn't have the final design of the depth and height and where everything is. Give them the flexibility, but control to ensure that the intention would be to put it behind the counter. This is what we're going to get to, and this is how the council can, this would be how the staff can drive that condition.
we can totally do that.
Wonderful.
okay,
Okay, so that takes care of that one. I'll turn it back over to you for the rest of your discussions.
okay. Let's see, where I left off was this issue of whether the concentration of permits was within the state's allocation or was undue concentration. And I think I have demonstrated if we use the population numbers from the latest census factored up to a reasonable number for the year 2025, we are within the concentration metric from the state of California. Even though that is not on the table for this permit, because this is not a standalone liquor store. This is a 20% floor space maximum permit, which does not require a concentration study. Correct? Okay. So that was.
You're way better at math than I am, Commissioner St. John. So,
All right, so.
but yes,
Just nod.
yes, there you go.
Just for nod. So, but so I don't know where the budgets stand on talking. On who, you had comments you wanted to make, right?
I just wanted to say that 23,000 is the entire city.
Yes,
So
right.
we,
Yes.
it's not, the concentration is along reservation road.
No, it's how
No,
many
no.
liquor stores you can have.
The number of licenses for your area. It isn't the number of licenses for a residence or, subdivision. It's the number of licenses.
Yeah, but I disagree.
Chair.
I disagree with that.
Yeah.
That I think that when I look at undue concentration and I look at the intent of what California's ABC laws are written and the way that they have defined it, I think this absolutely fits underneath the definition of that meets it. Now, that's the first part of the ABC regulations. The second part of the ABC regulations are that they then put a caveat on it that the cities, we are not going to tell the cities how to do their own business. So we are then going to give them a waiver that if they have city policies that override that they have a better grasp of what their city is from a crime, where it's crime, location, setup, whatever criteria that the city sets, that then allows us to. So I think in this case, I think that we are in the situation where we do have an undue concentration along the reservation. In this case, I'm not going to Del Monte side because that's different. In this reservation corridor that goes from Del Monte to just past Crescent, that we have a large number of stores that have beer, wine, or beer, wine, and liquor permits. And so that said, and I think that the city guidelines give us the ability to override that. At the same time, and this is where my concern comes in with this. It goes back to community, and Grace talked about it with her comment that, well, we do have community stores, and I will defer to her that she's absolutely right, and I know exactly what she's talking about, and I will say, and tell me another place in our city. Give me one other place other than that one block or 1.5 blocks on Carmel that we have community stores. We are not Seaside. Seaside has community stores. They have 18 of them, I think, intermixed across all their neighborhoods. So you can't walk more than 6 or 7 blocks without running into a community convenience store in Seaside. We do not have that in our city. And so we have concentrated here. So the question to me then becomes, does that concentration create a detriment to the neighborhoods nearby?
Right.
And the neighborhoods nearby do have a preponderance of high density residential apartments. And is that going to create the ability for increased crime? And if not, and I was looking at City Protect, and I was looking at the statistics for, because I can only go back, in City Protect, you can only go back for a year. And within that 6-block radius, there is not a escalated preponderance of crime that exists that was aligned to the previous tenant of the building. Right. And when I looked at, then I looked at that from a perspective of where are other permitted beer, wine, liquor, convenience type stores, of which we have a couple, 3 of them in the city. And then you look around those areas, and there is only one that has a little bit of elevated crime, and that is on Del Monte. But there are absolutely extenuating businesses that are nearby that are probably more of an effect than the store itself. And so I'm really torn on this issue, because I do believe that it doesn't meet the criteria. I think it's pretty straightforward. It meets the criteria of California's ABC requirements. Then I come back to the city requirements and I look at where we're at. And to your point, I think there are a lot of circumstances that would allow us to approve this
As is.
As is, because we're transferring it, and then we're asking for an additional one to potentially keep this business that had a business model that I guess we could say it didn't work.
Yeah.
The previous business model didn't work because the business closed.
Right.
And so if we have a slight change in their business model, but they're basically doing the same type of things, a convenience store with beer and wine, but then the big change is a few sundry items and OTCs, and then adding liquor sales. Is that going to be enough to take a new business and keep it there? Number one. And then number two, is this the right business for that area at a bigger discussion? And is there something that we think would be that a developer would actually come in there and realistically build against? Not all these ideas. We want realism. I mean, at some point, remember, somebody wanted to put another golf course resort into the CMEX plant because they thought that was a great idea 30 years ago. And that obviously never worked.
You know, the discussion that we're having, it's interesting because when you talked about the concentration of stores along reservation, I think there is a concentration of stores along the reservation, but they're servicing the entire city of Marina. So the larger stores that have liquor and, you know, those others, it's not like it's a neighborhood store and we got 12 in the neighborhood. We don't. They're servicing the entire city. So, and in that way, when I thought about it that way, I didn't see it as undue undue concentration? The other thing I thought about was over the years, I've watched and spent time in that 7-Eleven because I live close by, not within 150 feet or whatever it is, but I live close by. And there's like two types of customers that come there. They're the customers that were traveling in and out of work and they're going along reservation and they stop. When they had a gas station, a lot more stopped. When they did away with the gas station, their customer count just dropped. The other concentration of customers is from those multi-apartment complexes across the street, down the street, behind them, all there. Because a lot of those people just walk to that store and they shop in there. And so that's the primary clientele that I've seen over the years. Now, whether this addition of alcohol, in addition to wine and beer, is going to impact them, I don't see it. I don't think it's a spot where you're going to have people that are delinquent or people that are coming by just to start trouble or drink in the parking lot or whatever, because I've never seen that there. But that's just my observation about that location over the years.
Can I say something? I'm just worried about, I know that we don't make decision about opening hours, but I'm mostly worried about having this place open until 2 a.m. on weekends, selling liquor. And we can't make a decision about this, but there is not a place in
Has to
Marina
be
that I know
recognized.
that is open
They
until
have-
2 a.m.
They can choose to ask you to speak or not.
It's open 24 hours a day.
and selling liquor.
I'm selling wine and beer.
Okay, that's a different story than liquor, hard liquor.
Chair, can I be recognized to come over?
Yes.
So regarding the first comments about what times we would be open, we weren't actually looking at being set at that 2 a.m. mark. That was just, it gives us breathing room. But I'm feeling like, you know, everybody wants to speak 100% clear on that. And, you know, talking with Rashad earlier, we have no problem removing that 2 a.m. And we could probably set something maybe at the very latest, maybe midnight. Is that something, would that address your concerns a little bit, or?
Yeah,
And I know Commissioner Chang had also mentioned that, you know, I know the hours bothered you and, you know, that 2 a.m. I mean, we don't have like, and that would be the latest, by the way. You know, we still might even do it less than, because if it doesn't make sense financially to keep the staff there and, you know, keep the, you know, the lights on that late, you know, as was mentioned previously, it's kind of, you know, everybody's up early and they kind of go to bed earlier in this town. So we might have to adjust that later on, but we just don't want to restrict it on the license.
Yeah, so I think on the condition, I think it's the same type of thing we could do, just like I was talking about with square footage. What we could always do is we could add a condition that allows them, I mean, if we kept the hours where they were, whatever we change the hours to, but then we could also request, and we've done this in other places. We've done this with the new gas station on Imgen, for example. We could put a condition that states that 6 months from now, we would like a police report of all incidents within that area to see if there was a change over time, to look at those things. And we could set what those conditions are, or ask staff to work with the police department to come up with what the right metrics are, because I'm not necessarily knowing that the planning commission is the right one to know what the right metric is to look at. But we could set that up as a condition to look at the time period to see what happens to it and then come back after 6 months. And if there is a change or if there's things, we can always go back and then put a restriction that if there's an increase, then at that point we would default back to an earlier value. So 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever. So I think that there is a way that we can work through that with conditions.
Like a police report or study for incidents that happened after 10 o'clock at night and in that area or something, so that it would be a metric that can be focused on.
So to help the applicant and the commission can modify condition of approval 12 to either close at midnight all the days or
I would
keep it at till 2 a.m., furthering directing staff to work with the police department to identify if there's been an undue concentration of crime or however the commission wants to phrase it.
I
So
mean, I'm willing
we
to give
can do it either way. So
I would be willing to give the applicant the benefit of the doubt
Mm.
that their job is to actually operate a business, because the hardest part is staying in business for a year. And if they can get past the first year, then they have a much better chance of surviving and staying in business here. And they're not, with that assumption in place, they're going to make good business decisions on hours, what the staff and what the stock in the store, I mean, all the litany of business things that go on. But I think having that condition of having the police side, because setting the hours does not address the potential of increased crime that historically has come from adding liquor sales in convenience stores. And so this would allow us to cover that issue and address that within our city, but then also address the hours issue while still giving the flexibility to the owner to make the decisions on what's right until it's proven wrong.
So once again, we can craft it however the commission wants. The condition could be 1 year after occupancy, that the staff will work with the applicant and the police department to determine if the hours are appropriate and potentially could be scaled back, but would not increase. It would have to go down, not up.
If
So-
I'm not wrong, the state license allow them to on weekend to 2 a.m. in the morning. And I don't think we
No.
can change that.
That's not,
You know, we can only ask the businessman to have the kind of moral responsibility, you know, not to do that. I have one question about the intention of 20% alcohol flow space. Why do we have this 20% alcohol flow space restrictions? What's the intention of it?
so working with the chief of police and the city attorney's office, we tried to craft a reasonable policy in terms of what would be a good definition for incidental. And 20% seemed like a reasonable way to interpret the code.
Brian, could you go back to the slide where you show the your calculation of the 15%? There's one slide. Yeah, I just want to clarify on this. It's not the sales, it's the floor space.
That's correct.
It's not restricting the sales. So, I mean, if I were a businessman, it's fine, 20%, 10%, because I will have a storage of all the liquor. I keep on selling and turn over. I have no restrictions. Is the restriction the floor space? So what is the intention of the floor space is to what?
Incidental, otherwise you have to do a tremendous.
So the purpose of this was, in this code, which the planning commission and council adopted last May or June, when we did a pretty significant rewrite of the zoning code. We had, in the 4 years that I've been here, we had brought 5 or 6 liquor licenses to the commission, None of them were controversial. They were 7-0 votes with minimal conversation with the commission. So staff about 18 months ago had said, is there an opportunity to help small businesses by, doing these at a staff level, or if we bring them to commission, what's a reasonable way to process these permits? And so we wrote into the code, which the commission and council approved, that said, if it's an incidental use, then, and it's tied to food and groceries, then that would be a reasonable accommodation for these type of businesses. So that's the whole background.
All right, thank you.
As opposed to an entire store, floor to ceiling stocked with hard liquor and beer and other stuff. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here tonight.
Correct. So in other words, just trying to restrict the sales and with the minimum floor space to get attentions. Then if I were the businessman, I'll put a big advertisement on the window and say alcohol is available here. Yeah, I like your comments, yes.
So we wouldn't be allowed to have any signage in the exterior at all. So
You would
because
do it.
I
we
believe
can't.
we're not, Marina doesn't, we don't allow that right now.
We don't allow it, and I believe ABC doesn't allow
ABC
it.
doesn't allow where we currently
Yeah.
operate.
Right.
A long time ago when I was a kid, we had wall to wall, so many signs, what's on special, this and that, these 12-pack, $6.99. Now we can't have not one sign regarding any alcohol products, no advertisements at all.
Thank you.
No problem.
Commissioner Walton? Pardon?
I turned off my light. I'm done.
Commissioner Chang?
No, I'm good.
You're okay? Commissioner Rana? Nothing? Commissioner Barron?
Thank you. I want to thank you for showing flexibility about the hours. I was present in the 2 votes we had for other license that we voted on, but both of the places were kind of on site. This one is different because people can go in by and it's off site. So that's one concern. It's different when I have to vote for permit for a restaurant. And this kind of store is not really a neighborhood store. It kind of feels a little bit like a neighborhood store, but it's on the main drag. And a lot of people that come in and out of town can stop over, buy something, and leave. I understand that it can bring a lot more business for all the business knowledge I have. But as I said, my main concern is the sale so late at night. If we can compromise on 11 p.m., I prefer 11 to midnight, and put some conditions as Glenn said, Commissioner Woodson, I will feel much better about this permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let me, just a second. Guido, for the conditions of approval,
Yes,
on condition 3,
yes.
I would propose to exchange the word floor area for percentage, total floor area of alcohol sales. The total floor area devoted to alcohol sales shall not exceed 20% of the total floor area devoted to sales. To take the percentage of alcohol sales that could imply monetary.
Oh, got it. So you want us to change the title, say total percentage of gross floor area.
Yeah, or
Okay.
Yes, that's fine.
Change, I'm just typing it out now. Change title to say 20% of gross floor area. Okay.
but the entry title shouldn't say total percentage of alcohol sales.
That's what he's correct.
Right, so that's what I was saying, change the title of condition 3 to say 20% of gross floor area.
Okay.
We do tonight. All right, so can we run through, we've had a lot of conversations, we've had a lot of small changes right now.
Right.
So if we could run through, so approved use, I don't think there's any paragraph, there's nothing changed there. On condition 2, the effective date, nothing changed on that one. We just made a change on 3 to fix the title or space. For 4, we have compliance with other requirements. Permittee shall comply with other requirements, et cetera, ABC license. Basically, you're gonna meet the requirements. So there's no change there. 5 is, I don't think we discussed modifications. Any modification to the approved plan, site plan conditions requires constant review and approval of the planning staff. I think that would address kind of the global level number of the things that we've talked about is that they come back to you for discussion. Compliance. So when we get to 6, compliance with conditions of approval. And I think this is, I'm going to come back to Brian's letter, and I has the applicant had a chance to see the other comments, the other letters? Did they get a chance to see them?
Did we send that to them? Okay, that's all right. I apologize. We should have sent, so we had 2 comment letters about your project. So they're there. We do apologize. That's our
And
oversight on
so
our part.
what I'm
So-
going to do right now, just because it's to kind of give a little bit of fairness to you is, and you can look at them. They're right there. Nora she has hers, and her main concerns are about the area and the neighborhood kind of issues that we've talked about. Are you local? Are you part of the community? So it's pretty straightforward. Brian McCarthy's are more very specific on conditional use and whether it meets the kind of requirements of should we be undue consideration. And then he had some recommendations. And so if we go to page 3 of his recommendations, he had option 2, which is his recommendations on motion to approve with strengthened conditions. And so this is what I would like to ask the staff to do, which is, I appreciate what Brian specifically stated for conditions 2, 3, 4, and 5 that he suggested, with the caveat that I agree with them, but I think that those are ones that we should look at as being applicable across the city with our permittees. And I don't know if not that we can necessarily go back and grandfather clause them in, but we are also, if we put those 4 conditions in place and modify them, and I'm not sure if the wording is completely right or not. The challenge with putting those 4 in place is I do believe that's a negative business impact that puts this applicant at a disadvantage against the other offsite stores. And because it's an additional administrative burden and consequence code system that none of the other permittees in the city would have.
I'm sorry, which condition, Commissioner?
Conditions 2, 3, 4. So option 2. So if you go to the last page, if you go to Brian's letter and you go to the last page, he had an option that if we wanted to modify the motion, here were some suggestions that he made. And he labeled it option 2, motion to approve with strengthened conditions. So he added these other conditions. And so what I would like to leave the staff with is that I, in principle, understand and somewhat agree with conditions 2 through 5 that he suggested. However, I don't necessarily agree that this CUP is the time and place when it creates an undue burden on one business in our city while the other 8 businesses don't have to follow through with that. So I would rather look at that as a staff action to look at our overall code and say, does this make sense from an overall code? So I'm not saying that it's not part of our motion. I think it's more just a secondary staff action that I would like to suggest.
That's fine. We can take a look at it.
Because I do think Brian has a lot of very valid points that he raised in this, and there are a lot of
Yeah,
things
so
that I talked about too.
I would ask that the commission if there are further text amendments for further projects, we can certainly take a look at that, but
But the reason I bring that up, Guido,
So-
is because this is a letter and we could, I mean, I could just turn around and make that as a suggestion right now. We can have the discussion of whether we want to put this into this. And I'm just saying I would rather table this part of it, address the letter, but because ultimately, and the reason I'm bringing it up right now, Guido, specifically, is that our applicant didn't get a chance to see this letter before the discussions.
Right.
And that's not fair to the applicant.
that is true.
So I want to make sure that he understands that we had a chance to read this. You got 30 seconds to look at it just now. And I want to let you know
Well,
that. we're thinking
and just to
about it.
clarify, we did put it up on the city website. So I mean, it's not,
It's okay.
so, but we should have provided you a hard copy.
It's okay.
Just to add my thoughts to what Brian has nominated, to tie the 20% to sales, 20% of gross sales for a convenience store like this, to say that the alcohol shall not exceed that, or you lose your license.
That's why I
I
said
think that's not fair.
That's why I say I'd rather take that offline as a staff action to look at for future. That
Right,
right now, this is an impediment to the business success of
Right.
one business if we approve it. And so I think that they're valid discussion points. We just push them as an offline staff action so we've addressed the letter. We've addressed kind of our thought prominence of what Brian raised.
Mhm.
But at the same time, we've removed it from the conversation of this CUP.
right. Okay.
If everybody else agrees to that concept. All right, so. It's up to him.
The Chair St. John, the applicant's asking to be recognized.
Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, just a very brief comment regarding the 20% of the sales amount. When it comes to just even beer and wine sales, we don't have a location that does. Anywhere near-
So I think in this case, don't worry about it.
Oh.
We are literally
We're-
taking it. So the letter
Taking
was,
that off the table for tonight.
Oh, okay.
Won't be part of your.
we agree. Just leave. We agree. No, you don't have to apologize. So in the short term, I've just read it a few more times and you've had a chance to read it. We're just directing our staff to say, hey, this resident of the city of Marina raised some potential valid questions that we think should be answered. We don't necessarily think that they should be answered with this specific applicant's CUP permit request, but that they should be addressed from a staffing perspective. And so we've asked the staff to address it at a future date as a citywide issue, not as a individual issue to your business request. Does that make sense? Sure. No, it's okay. I mean, usually we wouldn't necessarily have done that, except that you just didn't get a chance to see the letter before the meeting started.
So Guido, let's finish up with the conditions of approval. We got through item.
So Chair St. John, I could very quickly, if it's okay, just very succinctly, let me pull up what my understanding of the conditions are.
Okay,
So because of Commissioner Woodson did point out some real minor typographical errors on condition 12 and 14. And we've added that to the motion that the commission hopefully can accept. And then I don't want to write out the exact verbiage, but if the commission is comfortable with just the general idea of we will add additional verbiage to condition of approval number 3, saying final square footage for the alcohol sales will be verified prior to occupancy or final sign off by the city for the building, including verifying the exact square footage of the spirits behind the counter. There was a recommendation for COA number 3 also to change the title to say 20% of gross floor area to make it abundantly clear. We do not have consensus on the hours from the commission. There's been a lot of conversation. We can write it however the commission wants to say direct staff to work with the applicant and the police department to review the hours within 1 hour of occupancy, if that's acceptable to the commission.
So I think
One
that
year.
1 year.
1 year.
And I think that the applicant has already agreed to cut back the hours on Friday and Saturday from 2 to midnight.
1 year
And so
after occupancy.
I would be fine with that, with the idea that after a year, we can re-review it. And then if we need to readjust to a 10 or 11 PM, as you're suggesting, then we've got the physical police reports along with his own business experience after a year to say whether he may do that automatically because it just doesn't make sense. So I think that becomes a little bit of a compromise on the hours.
And it was till 2 a.m. on Thursday through
No, it's
Friday.
gonna be 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. So midnight, Monday through Sunday. So it'd be 7 days a week.
Mm,
There's a song that goes with that, 7 days a
to
week.
midnight to.
And I think there is another
Okay.
one that I would like to propose,
Go ahead.
which is, and this goes back to size. I would like to propose that we put a condition that they do not sell single serving size liquor. I am not necessarily, I mean, I kind of agree on single serving beer, but I'm not going to necessarily restrict that because I think that's just a common thing that happens a lot. But I do think that there are enough statistics to show that single serving liquor, and it sounds like the applicant is actually in agreement with us that has a higher risk to their business model anyway. So I would like to add a condition that the single serving size, which is typical, and I'll let you deal with the wording on it. It typically, I believe, ABC considered, or the liquor industry considers that I think you're right, it's 1.7 ounces containers. As a restriction for sale of not selling.
And Commissioner St. John, if the commission's also open to it, the resident, Grace, brought up about lighting. If the commission's open to it, we can also add a condition, and we can phrase it however the commission wants about lighting, making sure we're not basically creating obnoxious lighting, following dark sky principles. And then we can work with the applicant on
The
downspouting the lighting.
downward facing.
If the
outdoor
applicant's
lighting.
amenable to that.
It's basically keeping, if you haven't dealt with dark sky before, dark sky is something that our city has been a proponent of for years across all of our businesses. And what we try to drive is we're trying to keep the lighting as the minimum lighting that's needed to provide security, while at the same time keeping the light on site. Right.
Exactly.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well, make sure that,
so I think we just put that in there and they work with staff on what that defines.
So if the commission is okay with it, we would want to work with the applicant, because the applicant brought up that lighting is really important to for the customer to feel safe. So we want you to have the lighting to support your customer base, but do it in a way that doesn't cause the light pollution, if that's amenable to the applicant.
Guido, you just typed in the last COA, no single serving spirit, no single serving of spirits. The hard alcohol, not the wine, can be single serving.
Okay, yeah,
And beer.
I don't want to like
Cooler.
belabor the conversation by putting the exact verbiage, but I'll put
Yeah.
spirit in there.
Spirit, because we limit it to the spirit piece, not beer and wine. Could be,
He's got it. He's got it in there.
you got it. You got it.
I think we've addressed the signage. Well, I still have, I want to make sure. So I still want to understand and I just want, this is, I think, just a formatting thing, Brian. So looking at, and I kind of talked about it in the email, but I want to make sure I'm right. If I look at current paragraph 13, it says tobacco. Authorization of this use permit does not permit the sale of tobacco products. I mean, it's not that you can't, it's just that this permit doesn't address it. Right. Then I think, shouldn't there be a new paragraph 14 that is,
Yes,
that deals
Yes,
with
we can-
food and
we can
sa-
change
food
that.
and beverage or health and safety?
yes.
Yeah, we can change that.
And then, so paragraph 14 would then be per MMC, health department, blah, blah, blah. Then paragraph 15 would be storage, which then make 16 would be signage.
Okay, we can change that.
Okay, and so what kind of happened is that paragraph under tobacco ended up combining 3 different topics in one. And so I'm just asking that it be separated out.
Sounds good.
I have a question. Guido, with COA, I'm not, so you wrote that it will be reduced only after a year. So the first year it will be open until 2 a.m.
Midnight.
No, the applicant has voluntarily agreed tonight to go 6 a.m. to midnight, Monday through Sunday. But that the applicant's also agreeing that after a year, we will meet with him and the police department and confer about the hours. That's the tentative condition that's been written. So,
Okay. Yeah, I think we can move on to see if we can have
Motion.
a motion.
For you, don't know, we switched to after 2 years, I gave up my chair position. Now I've moved into just a commissioner for role. So, and he's the new chair. That's why this is his first time. You're his very first thing that he's leading. So, you think it sounds like it's very simple to just sit up there and lead it. And it's like, oh my gosh, it's different. Anyway, so I would make a motion that I recommend motion. I move to adopt PC resolution 2025-15, approving conditional use permit 25004, allowing the sale of spirits, beer and wine for off-site consumption at 320 Reservation Road, APM lot number 032-161-014, named the Marina Mini Mart, subject to finding conditions of approval in a Class 1 Section 15301 CEQA exemption for existing facilities, with the additional changes in the conditions of approval as outlined in the 6 notes that are added below the recommended motions. COAs 3, affecting COA 3, 12, 14, 15, 16, and 17.
I'll second.
great. Commissioner Barron? Oh. Commissioner Walton?
Yes.
Commissioner Jacobson?
Yes,
Commissioner Chang?
Yes.
Chair St. John?
Yes.
Vice Chair Woodson?
Yes.
Commissioner Rana?
Yes.
And Commissioner Baird.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So can I add one comment, Chair?
Yeah, go.
So the one thing I would say is congratulations, number one. It takes a lot to get a business going in today's environment. So we completely understand the risk that you're taking by coming to the community. At the same time, as you can see, there is a lot more community concern that wasn't necessarily noted here in comments or in the meeting, and that we've known about that are offline. And I think that we can't make a condition of approval community engagement. We can't tell you have to engage the community at a certain level, or this is what community engagement even is defined as. But as a new local business that is in this realm of operation, I would hope that as you continue to work through your business model, that you do work to engage with our Chamber of Commerce, with our different population groups that we have across the city, to really do become a valid part of our community as a community store. Even though you're not embedded, like I would love to have you embedded more into our neighborhoods than necessarily where you're at, but that's not feasible in our city right now. So, but if you can take that kind of perspective that you're sitting in the middle of our residential neighborhoods, not on a main road, how would you want to act as that local community store? And just kind of keep that as your as part of your vision statement in the background of this is what we're trying to provide. It's not about being on reservation. It's about being in our community. Right. And that's what I see when I look at the Tangeras and the convenience stores in Seaside. And if you ever drive through Seaside and you go look at a lot of those stores that exist, that's really the atmosphere and the vibe that they all have, is that they really look at that. I forgot one. I did forget one thing during the discussion. Can I ask, Guido, is there any permit requirement there that they would have to put a food truck on site?
I
It's not
mean, they
part
have
of
to get a
CUP.
permit from us, but we can work with them. That's done at a staff level.
So I'll
So,
just leave that as a
Yeah.
thing.
so you're free to stay or free to go.
I just want to thank everybody here. I just want to thank everybody here for, your time and your considering everything. And we're happy to be here, and we look forward on working with, the community and the neighborhood, and, go from there.
Yes. Well, thank you for
Thank you so
coming
much.
tonight,
Thank you.
and best of luck. Yeah. Okay. And we meet every second and fourth Thursdays. So you're welcome to come to any of our meetings. Second and fourth Thursdays at nominally 6 o'clock.
Thanks. Thank you guys.
Commissioner Walton is leaving us for the last time. So thank you for coming. So,
Minnesota or Michigan is one of those warm states.
thank you. Thank you.
Hey,
So, Chair St. John, it's your call as the chair. Do you want to take a 5-minute recess or keep going? That's your call.
what do y'all want to do? Go or take 5? I think we just keep going.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
So we're to the second item, public hearing or let's see, this is, yeah. For rental, yeah, short-term rental agreement,
If you go
amendment to it.
I put all those notes back on. the
Okay,
same. That needs to all be in the resolution. So.
who's, Brian, are you presenting this one also? Oh,
I'm back.
okay.
Good evening. Once again, Marisa Huntley, Code Enforcement Manager. I'm here to present on the proposed short-term rental ordinance amendments for Chapter 17.42.170. Next slide, please. Once again, City Council direction. It was on August 8th of 2025. City Council initiated a discussion on strengthening the city's short-term rental program to better protect neighborhood integrity. City Council directed staff to identify ordinance amendments that would improve the effectiveness of the program. Next slide, please. The initial STR ordinance updates were presented to Planning Commission on October 23rd, 2025. Planning Commission requested a study session be held on December 18th, 2025. And Planning Commission provided feedback and recommendations. Next slide, please. Planning Commission recommendations from October 23rd of 2025. Commission recommended that we remove the language prohibiting STR permits on properties that have ADUs and JADUs. Remove the language limiting STR permits to single-family properties, and remove the language restricting STR permit to properties with only one kitchen. Next slide, please. At the last meeting in December, Planning Commission recommended the removal of the 180-day requirement from primary residence definition, and Commission supported proof of residency requirement. Next slide, please. The commission wanted us to include in the new adopted ordinance a requirement to have the ordinance be reviewed by Planning Commission and City Council 3 years after adoption. So we added section 17.42.170 G1. Review of ordinance. This ordinance shall be reviewed 3 years after its adoption. At that time, city staff shall evaluate the implementation of the short-term rental ordinance and present their findings to the Planning Commission. Next slide, please. Planning Commission recommendations continued. The commission requested additional information regarding issued STR permits and potential revenue. I listed the STR permits issued between fiscal year 2021 through 2026. As you can see at the initiation of the program, it was very slow going. We had 1 initially, and then it increased to 3 and 9 permits in 2023. And in 2024, it increased to 25 permits. And now currently we have 35 permits issued. STR TOT revenue. This was presented initially at the first meeting, but you can see the increase, right? As we had more permits issued, the TOT revenue increased. We have an estimated revenue from finance, but you can see that the revenue forecast is significantly higher between fiscal year 2024, 25 and 25, 26. Next slide, please. Planning Commission recommendations continued. There was a proposal to require a 55-foot zone of exclusion and requested a map. We added section 17.42.170.14A density limits. Upon the effective date of the ordinance codified in this chapter, all new STR permits shall be subject to a 55-foot zone of exclusion. The 55-foot zone of exclusion shall be drawn from the STR parcel boundary. A property shall be ineligible to hold an STR license if any part of its parcel boundary is within the 55-foot zone of exclusion of an existing STR. Subject to the city manager or his or her designee's discretion, a property may be eligible for the STR permit if its parcel boundary is outside the zone of exclusion, but an associated legal easement is within the 55-foot range. Next slide, please. Oh, this one. So this map is, I'm not sure how it displays on your screen, but it lists all our current STR permits. You can see that it's in, we call it North Marina or Central Marina, because the HOAs and the Sea Haven and the Dunes development do not allow short-term rentals. So it's all going to be in Central Marina. And then the next slide. This one's a little more zoomed in version. You can see that there's a couple of STR permits that are within the 55 feet of each other. So one of them would be excluded from the program. And next slide, please. STR prohibitions. The commission inquired as to why BMRs could not have an STR permit. The purpose of the BMR program is to provide affordable homeownership opportunities that house the home buyer rather than a profit-making venture for homeowners, was the legal response from the program. Next slide, please. Corrections. During the course of this presentation and reviewing the ordinance, we noticed a typo regarding going from a letter to a number and then a letter. We had section 14 and then point one. So we just made some typographical corrections to have the correct flow. A letter and then a little A, B, and C, and D, and E instead of, subsection 13 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That doesn't make sense. So it's 13 A, B, C, D, E. And same for 14, section 14, it's going to be 14 little a. And corrections continued. Same with section D. We had subsection 5, and then we had big A, which is supposed to be little a and B. And we have arrived at the end of the presentation, the recommended motion. Oh, sorry, didn't take, it's resolution 14.
Why? But we're adopting it this year.
Yes.
We're adopting it this year. So, right? Should be this.
Oh, okay.
So third time's a charm with the planning commission. As you can see, we've tried to narrow down, we had the initial go around and like I said, we got the feedback, hey, we should take a few steps back and have a broader discussion. That's what we did in December. We've further refined the edits that the commission asked for. And so we're really hoping today can be the final go of it with the commission so that we can move forward to council. And so the motion is to adopt the amendments. Brian's been doing a lot of great work about identifying other potential softwares that we can use. So part of the motion is to direct staff to identify some potential other ways to reduce Marissa's workload, maybe find a different software, work with our finance department in terms of implementing SB 346 and direct staff to make those typographical edits that we just identified. So we're really hoping to get this across the goal line tonight, at least with the commission.
Okay, thank you, Guido. And thank you to the staff, very capturing, this has been before the commission 2 or 3 times now. So we've had a lot of bites of this apple. It's almost gone. So let's open it up to the public comment first, because they haven't had as many chances.
Great. We have one. It's up to the chair to decide if you want to do it the in-person or the
Yeah,
virtual
let's take in
first.
person first.
Okay.
My name is Sean McDonald. I have a short-term rental permit here in the city. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yeah, Sean McDonald. I have a short-term rental permit here in the city. And
Before,
yeah,
it's
go ahead.
going to be on a 3-minute. There, we have one of our rules is a 3-minute limit for presentations. So
Perfect.
let's talk over.
I will try to be. I will try to be brief.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay.
As a reminder, we have a home that has an ADU that was built prior to the changes in 2020 that would disallow it from short-term rental use. One of the things I'd like to suggest as a change is to, we have 3 points here. One is to promote rentals of smaller spaces, prevent nuisances, and set reasonable limits. So the first point is about promoting rentals of smaller spaces. So I would suggest a change to allow concurrent bookings. This would allow a space like ours where we move out for a portion in the summertime, spend time with family and so on, to allow us to rent our ADU on the property in addition to the main house on the property during that time. It makes a huge difference for our family's income. Also would allow places that have a couple extra bedrooms that they want to rent to be able to do that. So the new amendments that are in place right now would take that away and would suggest that change. Preventing nuisances, I would request that we add, or the commission add a requirement to add a nuisance plan and also require decibel meters in homes with short-term rentals. We have a pretty robust nuisance plan, and it's all about preventing nuisances. We review guest reviews, we do guest screening, we have proactive messaging, do ID verification. We have motion activated cameras on the outside, and we have a decibel meter that proactively lets us know if decibel levels are higher than expected for a period of time, which automatically gives us a message, automatically sends our guests a message. And if it goes longer than that, it automatically sends a human to message another human if I didn't see it right away. So we take that really, really important. We think that's really, really important, and we think that other STR operators should be doing the same. Finally, I have 2 pages there. One, they're both related to this, setting reasonable limits. Marina has one of the most strict requirements to operate vacation rental in the area. Of the ones that do allow it, it's the only one that only allows primary occupants to do it. If you look at the other cities, if you go to the second page with the comparisons, the densities of permits that are allowed per resident is 62 per resident in Delray Oaks with their 25 permits, 60 per resident with their 250 cap. 90, they have a cap of 90 in Seaside, so that's 360 residents per permit. And Marina doesn't allow any. So there's no permits allowed for non-owner occupants. So which is really strict, and it works for us because we're in it, but it's our suggestion that you might look at doing it slightly differently and setting a cap so that it doesn't continue to grow too big and uncontrollable for the city, but also allows non-owner occupants, including other homeowners and renters, to potentially do this business. So thank you.
Yeah, could you give your name? Sean? Okay, thank you, Sean. Okay, and how about on Zoom?
Chair St. John, we have one person online who wants to talk.
Okay,
So sounds good.
please, yes.
All right. Go ahead.
Do you guys hear me good now?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Bishoy Bibawi. I just want to say that I really wanted to prepare like a Google slide or like a PowerPoint for today. But unfortunately, I've been traveling last week and this week too, so I didn't have enough time to make it. So I just want to talk real quick about the reason why I just decided not to speak at the last meeting is because at that time, I honestly felt like I really knew where this was going. I didn't feel like speaking would change anything. But today I just decided to come and speak because I truly hope this conversation can shift toward working with the real problem and understanding the situation the right way, and instead of just putting so much pressure on people that they feel like forced to just give up or even leave the state. And I don't know if I should say this, but if the city's goal is for people like us to be out of business, for me, that's totally okay. I really mean that. Just please be clear and transparent about it, because what's happening right now is a lot on us. We have families, we have work, we have other responsibilities. And this whole process is really overwhelming now. And I would like to talk about our situation here. We own 2 homes in Crescent Avenue. They are directly across from each other. It's separated by a wide public street. Our guests park on our private driveways, and we have never had any parking issue. We have never had any like safety issue. Never blocked like emergency access or anything like that. So when I hear about like a 55-foot rule measured like parcel to parcel, I honestly just don't understand how 2 homes across a public street are treated like they are right next to each other. And I truly don't understand that. So I just, it doesn't reflect real life or like real condition. With all respect to Mr. Guaido and Marissa, and I truly mean that, like even today, I see that the city still struggle to show like real data providing that compliant short-term rentals like ours are causing safety issues or parking problem. There isn't really a clear data showing repeated violation or like emergency access problem or neighborhood harm tied to our properties like ours. I believe Marissa does her job and she cares and that's what she wants to do and that's what she signed up for. I'm not against Marissa at all. This is not a personal thing, but I also want to mention something that I remember from last meeting. There was like a discussion about making Marissa's job easier. With all respect, I just think it should be the other way around. We are the people making enforcement. Can I continue?
Deshay, yeah, you've passed up, you've finished your 3-minute allowance, so.
Is it okay if I continue?
Let me give you 30 seconds more.
Okay, I'll be real quick. So we are the people. Making like enforcement easier should not mean putting pressure on people who are already following the rules, because we are the one paying the city TOT, we're the one paying the business license fees, we are the one paying the property taxes, we are the one paying the state taxes, the federal taxes, the very high insurance costs, the local cleaners, the maintenance workers, and even the vendors. We're not hiding here. We're not avoiding the city. We're trying to just survive and do things the right way. And I don't know if that is allowed, but if you guys go through the data from like the last year, from like August when we started those meetings, there isn't really much of like lots of listing or permits been approved.
Okay. Yeah. Let me thank you.
Okay.
And
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me close the public comments for now and we'll go to commissioners' comments.
Commission, Chair St. John, Bishoy just commented, but there's a Minna, but I think Minna just spoke.
So Minna and Bashoy are together. They can speak separately as long as it is
Right, but I
a
think,
separate.
I think that was Minna.
Yeah, right.
So, the gentleman, Minna, your hand is still raised. I'm gonna lower the hand. Okay, that's the same person. Okay. Sorry, Chair St. John.
Okay.
So, everybody has spoken in the building and online, Chair St. John.
Okay. So we're now going to have the discussions and comments from the commissioners.
All right. Start with me.
Yeah.
Mr. Chang.
No, we can start with you.
So, I mean, I'm generally very transparent person. And I'll be realistic here. The challenge that we on the planning commission have right now, the challenge that the planning staff have right now and professional staff, is that this was not started by us. This was started in a discussion that went on with the city council. And there is a direction that the city council is leaning towards, that if we cannot come up with a solution, the solution may be presented to everybody and nobody may be a winner in the city of Marina on that respect. And I can't make a decision on where the city council would go if this eventually got to that point, but I can tell you that we have to come up with some level of compromise on this. And that if we don't, there is a good chance that this city will move back to where we were prior to 2019. And that's just a fact of where the city is leaning towards right now with the current city council. And that's fine. They are the ones who set the policy for the city and are ultimately responsible for all of us and how we do things. So that's the situation we're in right now. And I want to address that to the comments online about, okay, why are we here? And that's why we're here. And it's a very intractable discussion. We went through this 5 years ago and it was really hard to get to a decision then. And I guess what I come down to, first off, the nuisance plan and the remote decimal meter, I actually did not know that was a capability. So I would actually, the first side of it to me is I will add that I actually agree with that. I think having a detailed nuisance plan for each of our owners of STRs and having a remote decimal meter inside, I think that is a tremendous idea. That the noise issue and the parking issues are the two biggest issues that come up with STRs across the country. And if the decimal meter becomes kind of a thing that can help head off those issues from becoming raised to code enforcement to the police in the first place, then that may solve a number of the issues that we specifically are having.
Are they
So-
commonly available?
I mean, it's an app. It's basically you go in, yeah, I just searched it online and there are multiple different ones that you could find on Amazon that you can go purchase that just have a remote Wi-Fi Bluetooth tie-in, and it
Kind of like
So
a
I'm-
red camera or something.
Right.
And pricing can be a
it's
couple of $100.
yeah, and it's just
or
a decimal, it's a decimal meter instead. So it's actually a very interesting one. I had not realized that they existed. So I think
Okay.
that though, to me, going back to those, I know we didn't raise that before, but I think that those are two really very positive things for the city that would help us out from a compliance perspective. Where the challenge we get into, and I struggle with this here, is we invited residents, we invited investors, both, into our city 6 years ago to have STRs. And when we did not, we were the exception on the peninsula where everybody else had nothing. We didn't allow anything. In fact, when I moved here, it was one that's like, that was really interesting to me because we were the only city, one of the only cities, I think, in the state that didn't allow STRs at all. And so then the winds kind of blew in a direction and we invited our residents and we invited investors or businessmen to come into the city and create this program. And now we've kind of got this thing, well, we're not sure if we really like this or not. But we set this up and we've put them in a situation where they've set up a business plan and we've asked them to, we've given them permission. They have TOT, they pay taxes into the city, they support the city. And then we turn around and we say, that's not good enough. And so we're going to curtail you, but we're not going to do the point online. We're not going to kick you out and just tell you we don't want you here. We're going to just say we kind of don't want you here, but we're not going to be outright on what we're going to do. We're just going to set restrictions that are so non-business oriented that we drive STRs out of business. And I don't agree with that. So, and I'll turn it over to the rest of the commissioners, but I think that the issue with primary resident and concurrent bookings, and to Sean's specific issue here, that is a very typical one with families, is that they in this case especially, we're not asking them to be a non-primary owner that is living in Sacramento and disappears for 6 months and then comes down here because they want to live here for 6 months during the summer, and then they go back home for 6 months. They're actually they're living on site in our community. And so there's the concurrent booking kind of the residential issue of primary resident on site. I still have problems with that, to be honest. And then the second one on the concurrent bookings, again, if they meet the requirements and there's not a parking, they're not nuisance complaints, and there's not anything, I raised this before and I kind of backed off on it last time, but I'm going to raise it again, that I don't necessarily agree that we can't have concurrent bookings. I think a lot of people don't like concurrent bookings. When I've done Airbnbs, the places that have concurrent bookings, I generally, with my family, I've just gotten to a point where I just don't like them because it's an odd situation usually, because you have locked bedrooms and people come in and they just go to their bedroom and they lock. It's just very weird. And it's not very oriented towards like communal living. or hostile type of settings. So I do raise those because I do think that, and then the third thing I will say, and then I'll kind of turn it over to somebody else, is that even if we put this in place as it's written right now, I think that we have to be fair to our current owners and businessmen in our community and give them some type of grandfathering clause that allows them to make a decision on what way they want to go and not just say, okay, here it is, this 30 days from now or 60 days from now. We've got to get something that's realistic to them that moves us, if the decision is made to move forward as is, that gives them a year or 2 years to get in compliance with that. And the reason that I'm looking at something that's more extended is that in the case of Sean, where it's a single residence, and what they have as an STR is one unit, where we have Mila, they've got 2 properties. In the end, with the new rules, especially with the 55, and I'm not going to come off of that one because I propose it and I think that that's valid because I don't want them next to each other. And I don't need to get into my rationale. I just think that that's there. But at the same time, he has 2 properties that are across from each other. And in today's environment, he's going to have to make a decision on keeping or selling one of those properties.
Because they're not going to be 55.
Because they're going to violate the 55-foot standard.
I remember talking about that and everybody decided that the streets were wide enough to allow for it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that the way the final definition is written right now, if you look at and this is what I was drawing, that's why I borrowed his pen. I was drawing it from corner to corner of the property. That creates an oval around the property. And with if we do property line to property line, I don't think I think in his case, that 55-foot is going to be in violation. And so I think we need to be able to address.
Can we get staff to confirm that?
I'm sorry, the question is, if we do the 55-foot exclusion, how would it impact?
On Babawi,
Specifically, because I think he's the primary one who would be in violation.
currently has 2 homes, one across from each other.
Yeah,
Mr. Babawi.
I'm loath to adopt public policy based on one particular customer that, we
But
should really,
because he violated.
yeah.
But he's the only.
I just,
Is he in violation?
But he's also the only one that we invited into our community that is in violation on a new policy that we're putting in place. So my point is that do we turn around and say, okay, 30 days after this is adopted, that it goes into effect, and then all of a sudden he has 30 days to come in compliance?
no. The STR permit is valid for a year. That's been in the books way before I even started with the city. It's abundantly clear that the permit is only valid for 1 year. This would not take effect until we renew all these permits. And is it July 1st, Brian, or June? Whatever the expiration date is. So this is not going to take effect immediately. This will kick off July 1st.
Okay,
So-
I'm sorry, I'm looking at this. So
So
I just want, and I'm going to be numbers wise here. Today is February 12th. Is this final approval stops at us, or does this go to the council to be approved?
tentatively going to council March 17th.
So March 17th, if council approved it on March 17th, April, May, 60 days. May, June is 90 days. He's going to be in non-compliance in 90 days. Now, you may think that that's a long time, but as an owner of a home that may have to sell it to come in compliance,
Well, they'll have another year.
well, no, he won't, because his current permit expires and
If-
his new permit goes in place on that. So
If
saying
the
is,
commission wants to shorten the conversation for tonight, if the commission wants, they can recommend to council that whatever, provision that you want potentially to be extended out for a year, that can certainly be part of your motion, and the council can consider it. And that
That's-
is certainly a reasonable part of your recommendation to council.
so I think that I believe in keeping the 55-foot limit. If any of our current owners of STRs are in violation of that, then my recommendation to motion is that we add a condition that the city council look at giving them at least a one additional year of permitted approval to make a decision on what they want to do with that to violate the code. That totally is not the right sentence.
I understand what you're saying, Commissioner.
Grandfather, exclusion. or
Well, it just gives them,
exception.
it would give them the 3 months plus a year.
That's completely reasonable and the commission can make that recommendation.
So I think now, so where I do think, so if that said, I think we come back to me, the issues of concurrent bookings and primary residence. And do we want to keep it as written? And again, those were some of the bigger discussions we had last time. So I think, but we also have, so the other condition we want to add is that we want to add a condition that we want to add a nuisance plan and a decibel meter as a recommendation. So those are the two new conditions, Guido.
I'm sorry. Yes, that, once again, that can be a reasonable addition to the motion, that a nuisance plan and a decibel plan be prepared by applicants when they renew their permit. That's a reasonable request.
And so I'll turn it over to the rest of the council, to the commission. I'll kind of think that on the issues of concurrent and primary. I mean, those are my opinions on things. So I'll just let you all have yours.
Okay.
Nothing to say.
My left. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Sean, for this table. And how do you get the potential cap of 35 and 639?
Actually, I don't have a copy of that from the commission, so.
Okay.
You're asking me a question?
Yes.
Yeah. So
How
what
do-
was the
how do you
question
get the
exactly?
numbers here.
How do I get to the numbers?
Yeah.
35, 639.
Yeah, so say it was just an idea, right now we're at 35 permits.
Correct.
So if you put a maximum of 35, if you put a cap of 35 permits, it would just, what would happen is you would have 639 permits or 639 people per available permit based on the city's population.
You just took the city population and
Divided by the
35.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
Yeah, so it was just,
And the other ones were much lower. is the point.
that's what, yeah, so it's still, even if you were to put a cap of 35, you'd still be much more strict than other cities. And this is specifically as it relates to non-owner occupied.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
It's a very good idea to set the caps. I agree with you. And maybe Marissa, I know it's hard for her to set a cap right now. It's the beginning.
Mhm.
So maybe you could take into consideration when the times come, you could set a cap. And again, that's good. And the last time we talked about it
Yeah.
with 100, the cap at 100, I think we could generate about $700,000, I think.
Yeah, I would remind the commission that this was part of the almost 3-hour discussion and the commission did not, the last time we met about this, the commission did not support a cap. So we can certainly talk about it again, but I just wanted to reiterate that we did talk about this extensively at the last meeting.
All right.
So,
I apologize.
but I just for the interest of time, just to help out,
Yeah.
the commission and everybody.
And
So,
just to continue to respond to it though, that it was not a suggestion that it should be 35. It was just to be an example based on how many.
Yeah,
permits
based
there
on the current.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think the question is, I think Marina is growing. I believe it will be more than 35. And it will come to a time, I remember last time I say you generate enough revenue. I think it's good to have additional staff to make sure they're able to enforce it and make sure that everybody complying with the rules. Yeah. Thank
Right.
you.
Guido, in particular, my recollection of some of our previous meetings, we settled on not recommending any cap, but we didn't even consider whether they would be non-owner, any permits for non-owner. We said we would only have permits for residential
Right.
owners. And we said they had to prove that their ownership of that property.
Right. That's correct, Chair.
Right. But we didn't say, we said, and there could be no cap. So if we had 1,000 applications and they were all past the muster, then there would be 1,000 permits issued. But they had to be to owners. So
Right.
The no cap, this one, I don't know if Delray Oaks and Pacific Grove, et cetera, if these are caps for the total amount of short-term.
They are caps.
Re-
And those are.
Okay, so that is their,
All three, that's. It's,
and they just do allow non-owner, or you can be an owner.
They have options.
Yeah, Seaside does cap,
They
but
don't
no cap.
restrict it to
host and
only
host.
owners. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So,
So just to help out the commission, just to help overall. So if you recall in October, just to help funnel the conversation, we had a discussion about, do we want to have a prohibition about STRs? If you have an ADU, should you have an STR? The commission told us they thought that was unfair to people who have ADUs. We took that out. We had some initial language saying, hey, you can only have an STR in single family homes. The commission said, no, that seemed a little bit too restrictive. So we took that out. There was this language about, well, you can only have an STR if you only have one quick kitchen. Commission said, no, that seems very restrictive. And we had a pretty lengthy meeting in December. And then really the final three questions for today, at least from the staff and what we've compiled, was what the commission asked us to do was to prepare the 55-foot exclusion. So it sounds like there's some discussion today about should that be grandfathered or give people a little bit more leeway. So that's a decision point tonight for the commission. There was a request about why BMR units are being excluded, and the answer was that a BMR unit should really be focused on housing people, not on a money-making venture. And then the final real question for today was the commission asked staff to what would be the projection a year from now, 2 years from now, and Marissa did present that in the presentation. So those were the three kind of things the commission asked us to do, and I feel like we've answered those questions. And so really tonight for the commission, it's, do you want to go forward with the nuisance plan, a decibel plan, and have further discussions about the 55-foot exclusion and potentially allowing or not allowing concurrent booking? So that's my understanding of where we are as of right now.
Well, and I think on the 55-foot, we already have a decision. The recommendation on 55-foot is to take forward to council to look at creating a extended period for compliance of 1 year past the current expiration of their permit to be able to come into compliance if they are not in compliance with the 55-foot.
I just want to, for my own mind, on the 55-foot, how did we come up with 55-foot instead of 60 or 50?
Because if you recall from our presentation in December, Marissa identified that, and I don't want to miss, it was Seaside, Pacific Grove. There were 3 or 4 other cities so that seemed like a kind of a best management practice that other cities have adopted.
We weren't thinking of excluding an across the street home. No, were we? That if a homeowner on one side of the street had an STR permit, we didn't really want to exclude the other owner on opposite side of the street. And we thought 55-foot would not exclude him or her. Is that correct?
No, I don't believe so.
I don't believe that was the.
Okay.
Because the concern is,
We were perfectly happy to exclude the opposite side of the street.
Yeah, and
Yes.
we did discuss that because we
We,
looked at the map. So a average street design, residential street design is 12 times 2 plus a 4 foot right of way plus a 3 foot sidewalk right of way, which would give 24 foot road width plus 8 foot right of way for shoulder plus, which would take it to 32, which with 6 foot for sidewalk, which would then give a total nominal width of our residential streets of 38 feet. So we knew we were never, a house directly across from another house was
Would
not
be
gonna,
s-
was not gonna be in compliance. And the idea was that we want to, this was how the whole thing came up. And this was how it started in council in the first place, was that one of the council members was driving down the street and saw somebody they thought was a contract worker providing support to STRs going to 2 houses next to each other.
Mhm.
And they thought that that was not conducive to the neighborhood environment. And that was how this whole thing got started. So the
Okay.
idea was to eliminate houses that were next to each other and create a
Okay.
hopscotch pattern.
right, okay, understand. So. Where are we?
So I think we've got I think we have the 55-foot one.
Yeah.
We know.
So if the commission's okay, what could be added to the motion is, and I have to have Brian correct me, is it updated June 1st or July 1st every year? Okay, so the 55-foot exclusion, if it affects current permittees, it would not take effect until July 1st of 2027.
Okay.
Is that,
Yeah.
okay?
I got it. Okay, so what about other commissioners? Donna, you okay? Do you-
So the issue with concurrent is if you have a home and you have an ADU and you want to book both of them at the same time, is this?
Right.
What it is? How many units do we have like that?
Well, I don't think it-
Marissa can speak to that.
Well, he's an exception because you can't short-term rental ADUs. But
No,
his
so
was
I think-
built before 2020, so he was,
I think he's talking single,
but he's also mentioning rooms.
this is a house that has 2 bedrooms that they want to use as STR. Currently, the way that it has been rewritten or revised is that you can't do concurrent bookings. So they can't advertise bedroom 1 and then advertise bedroom 2. You could do both, or you could do one or the other. We're not, the way it's currently been rewritten is you can't separate those. You can only rent the house and the bedrooms in that house. Where with a concurrent booking, you could say, oh, you could do bedroom 1 and you could do bedroom 2 as a separate booking on that night. That's the way the concurrent bookings are set up for.
That's correct.
How do you ensure that doesn't happen? When they
Well,
do it?
that's,
Well, you would only have one listing on the platform. Like a rental link, only
Because
one.
I think it can't be enforced.
well, if the commission is okay, Marissa can share without giving addresses, just the difficulty of when you don't have this, if you want to share some of your.
Yeah, so the difficulty right now is with allowing concurrent listings is that some permit holders will post multiple listings, right? And then you have to decipher the photos and see, hold on, is it the whole house? Is it 1 bedroom? What part are they splitting up? When they have an ADU, it complicates more things because now they have 3 or 4 listings, right? When they're only supposed to have 1 technically. So it just makes it harder. Because we don't have that in the code right now, technically they can have 2 listings or 3 listings, and it just it makes it harder to enforce anything right now. By only having 1 listing, by only allowing the owner or the permit holder to only have 1 listing, I should only be seeing 1 listing when I search for the property. Right? That was the intent of that one, the last meeting.
I think for me on the concurrent listings, I am okay with concurrent listings, but the condition that, again, I would see on it, on a concurrent listing, is that when they apply for their permit for an STR, they have to formally and definitively define what that listing looks like. And that including a photo. that says here's our floor plan map. Here is bedroom number one, this would be concurrent listing number one. Here's bedroom number two, this is concurrent listing, so that when you look at that, you have a document for that property. So you can go into the document and say, I can't remember what this is. Oh, here, let me go pull the file photo. Here is the file photo on record that shows this is bedroom, here's our floor plan and here's our setup. Because that would aid with, that would allow for concurrent listings, but at the same time, take away the ultimate ambiguity that ends up kind of cluttering up your day.
So, and if the commission, if I can point the commission to section 14, under plan, I'm sorry, actually, D 14D number 5, A, B, and C, that does have the plot plan, floor plan requirement. So we can, yeah.
And we can fit that in.
So
We're already requiring the floor plans, but I understand from Marissa that the concurrent language is important because even with this language, it's difficult to enforce it. Is that a fair? Yeah.
Correct.
So are there, I guess what it comes down to, Marissa, are there some additional conditions that we can put on the application process itself and permitting process that allows us to still as a city have concurrent listings, but at the same time that actually solves the administrative overhead challenge and technical deficit that we're causing for you as the single code enforcer for the city? Because and I think that's, if we can find a way that will give you that answer so that you can come into this and they can't find the loopholes to kind of get around it. Then, and it could be, I mean, no, it could be as simple as if they change their photos, they've got to have the master photo that they put in their listing, they have to keep updated with you. So that you are always, if they go in there and they put a new photo in that they think is better because it's got a different type of linens or whatever, they've got to make sure that it's yours so that you can actually go quickly pull that record up and say, oh, look, this photo matches bedroom number one. I don't know what would help. I would like to be able to support our STR owners. And I think the concurrent listings is something I think this is a solvable challenge, but you're the one who has to deal with it, not us on a daily basis. They had additional things that aren't in the permit.
So the main issue with the concurring listings is the properties that have ADUs and JADUs. Those are the main issues, those properties, which is not all the property STR permit holders, right? But so I understand your concern that it's going to affect them. The STR permit holders that have one house and are just trying to rent bedrooms out, like it will affect them, right? Because technically with this ordinance, they won't be able to post it. Our goal was to try to ensure compliance on those properties that are illegally renting out the JADU, the garage conversion, and the separate ADU as a short-term rental.
Because that violates state standards, because the state doesn't allow that. So we are caught in she literally as a code enforcer is caught in the conundrum that if a owner rents an ADU, that a JADU as an STR, we are now violating the state standards as a city, because we're now allowing a permitted rental as long-term rental as an STR. So we've got to be able to manage that. And I think, again, coming back to it, if you have the converted garage is a great example in a lot of homes, because I mean, I lived in a converted garage in college for 2 years. And again, if the floor plan is labeled and it's labeled, okay, converted garage, bedroom, it's a JADU on the plan. I mean, we've got to make sure that the floor plan that was submitted identifies every piece of that property correctly. So if there's an ADU that's separate, or if there's a JADU here, okay, that's X'd off. You can't use that. That cannot count as bedroom number one or bedroom number two. I mean, again, I think we have a way to work around it.
So if the commission wants under that section 5, D5, we can add additional provision that says, and I'm just making this up as I go, that the floor plan as provided to staff shall not be modified upon renewal of the permit. And if it is, the applicant is required within, a week to provide staff an additional revised floor plan, something to that effect.
I'm fine
Is
with that,
that,
with the additional proviso that, and must be in compliance with current city ADU and ADU guidance.
that's fine.
And only because that then puts us in compliance with the state, because now the state, we're telling the state, we're trying to do this right. And sometimes they may try to pull a wool over our eyes, but we're trying to do this in what we've got it written in our code.
Should we specifically state that ADUs and JADUs cannot be part of short-term rental?
It's already in our code.
It's our.
Yeah, it's
it's already
already,
in here.
it's already in our ADU ordinance. So,
No, but in the STR ordinance, I hate to say refer to another one, and they have to get
right,
another.
right. Let me,
Guido, I think that's where it's always been. And this most recent round of edits suggests adding it as well to the STR ordinance, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
I'm trying to find the section,
I mean, it could go in prohibitions.
prohibitions.
It's not
under
in there
what-
right now.
What section? What section?
Thanks, Seth.
Under what section?
No,
That's
it's not in there.
Section 13.
Section 13. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we can
Yeah,
add that to the
clarify.
ordinance, 13, expressly prohibit.
That'd be good.
prohibit.
Okay, well, then if that takes care of our second, that takes care of our third, which then I think leaves us with the primary versus, and coming back to a primary versus ADU issue and ownership and on-site, which are two different, I think are two different things. I mean, there is, somebody who is owning the property and lives off-site, and then there is the primary owner who wants to stay primary, but then wants to bounce back and forth between their ADU and their non-ADU. And correct me if I'm wrong, Marissa, that we have owners of property, of STRs, and that have a permitted ADU. And what they would like to do if the regulations were written that way, is they would like to be able to not use the ADU as an STR, but they would like to be able to, during certain times of the year, live, instead of living in the primary house themselves, vacate the house completely and live in their ADU.
We actually have people that actually just live in the ADU.
And just, right, but they can't, if they live in their ADU, this goes back to, I think, the ADU regulations. They can live in their ADU permanently and rent out their house. That
Right.
is allowed by ADU regulations. They cannot live in their ADU right now, and then they can only use their house as a long-term rental. They're not allowed to use it as a short-term rental.
No,
No, they can.
No,
So
they
they
can't.
can.
They
Yeah.
can. They can.
So that's
Then-
the case right now is I have several properties that
Okay,
are doing that.
no.
They,
It's
they,
perfectly fine.
so they can go back and forth between the two?
Well-
Yeah. that's-
No, but they cannot, one day a year, they can't rent any days of the year, rent the ADU.
Right,
as a short-term
It's
rental.
not a rental property,
I
right.
understand that. I
but
mean,
they
that's-
can make that their primary resident, live in the ADU and rent their big house.
I have several
on a 30
properties.
Day or a 20-day or day by day.
The issues I have right now with the properties that have ADUs is what we discussed in the previous meeting is that They were trying to rent out short-term rental, the ADU, the JADU, and the main house.
That's against the state law.
Which is why the concurrent booking language was added to the draft
Right.
ordinance. Which is why the recommendation which we've crafted about if you're going to modify the floor plan, you must submit the revised floor plan with the staff. So
Right now, I'm only aware of one property that does use the ADU to live in it, right, part-time of the year, and rents out the main house as a as a short-term rental, which they can do. All the other properties are just short-term rentals.
Trying to keep this, because I know the answer is I'm trying to make sure that, again, I want to cover all of our businesses and make sure that we've kind of covered that and given them the opportunities. Without actually highlighting, I'm just going to ask if that fixes the concurrent ADU requirements, which I think we may be able to address. Does that also fix the second part of your issue?
Just to make sure I understand, if you allow for concurrent,
Right.
The issue that we have is if you don't allow concurrent, then we basically have to, if we can't rent our ADU that we have the legal right to do based on the state standards, because when it was built, we wouldn't be able to rent that at all any longer as a short-term rental. And we only be able to keep the main house as a short-term rental concurrent, because during the summertime when
That's
it's
right.
busy, we're able to rent out both of them, able to go visit family.
Because they're
Because my family works in education, so we have that time. That's kind of like, that's
because their
why.
ADU is pre-2000, is pre-ADU regulations, so they're
Right.
grandfathered in, so they can actually use. So they are the exception than the rule because they,
yeah, and
that's fine.
and that's why we can always work with if there's
Yeah.
exceptions to the exceptions,
Yeah,
we
I
can
just
address
don't
that with
like-
individual.
What I would like to do
Yeah.
is address, I think we've
Yeah.
addressed the concurrent. And then my other recommendation to the commission to provide the staff direction is that in the cases where we have permitted STRs that were part of the pre-ADU process or state approval, I don't know how to phrase it.
If they're called
Prior to-
conforming and non-conforming.
Right, that
Yeah.
basically that we direct staff, or the recommendation to the council is that they work with that they approve working with staff to address what would become non-conforming, to provide a waiver or something or another to keep them and allow them to continue to do business.
Okay, I'm loath to put in an ordinance an exception to an exception to an exception, as opposed to just letting staff do their job and working with that one specific
And
customer
I'm fine with that.
to address a very, very unique situation, as opposed to
And I think
crafting language that other customers or other people could potentially
yes.
use for nefarious purposes.
So I'm fine with that. As long as whatever we can come up with a solution. I think the concurrent side fixes the high level issue. But then we still have a outlier within our process. And I would just like the staff to work to figure out how to fix this so that if we can do this, solve this one-off kind of exceptional case. And I understand it's an outlier. I just don't want to make they're an outlier, so therefore they lose. I would rather they're an outlier, but we still find a way to make it a win.
Okay.
Can
If
put
we
a-
will work with the applicant and we will identify if the direction from the commission is, we will come up with some policy language before the council meeting to
That's what I would.
identify this very unique situation without
Because
creating a whole other problem for staff. So
it is a very unique situation.
Mr. McDonough.
Yeah.
It's the reason your ADU is exempt is because it was built prior to year something?
Yes, because it was permitted prior to 2020. So state law that went in place in 2020, then all ones permitted from 2020 on, the city is not allowed to allow those STRs to be
To be
vacation
ADU.
rental, to be STRs.
So
Yeah.
why can't we simply put that? It's not an exception. It would be, yeah,
They'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
where you put. Yeah, yeah. Figure out how do we, what our intent is to be in compliance with the state regulations for
Sounds-
ADUs and JADUs. And if the state specifically says those built after 2020 or whatever the number is are exempt from that, then we should be more prescriptive than that.
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Commissioner, are we done? So we're time for motion time.
So without having to write out the full language, I think where the commission has landed is we have our base motion. We have work with, staff will continue to identify best management practices software. We will work with our finance department to make sure our hosting agreements are up to date per SB 346. We will fix some of the typographical errors that we identified in the last couple days. The commission landed on if a current permittee is within the 55 exclusion, the recommendation to council is it will not take effect till July 1st, 2027. That moving forward, we will be asking for a nuisance and a decibel noise plan. And that we will add language to section D5 that says floor plan modifications shall be resubmitted to the city within 72 hours of modifications. And I don't know if we want to ensure concurrent bookings do not occur. And very rightly put directly, explicitly in the ordinance, expressly prohibiting STRs and ADUs and JDUs. And
Yeah.
directing staff
Built or, yeah,
and directing staff to work with a very unique situation regarding pre-2020 ADU language into the code.
right.
That
I would change the numbering though, because you're making the motion number one. Wouldn't it be easier to make the motion and then say include 1 through 7?
sure. Sounds good.
Is it that? I thought we were looking at allowing concurrent bookings
Yeah,
because of the additional requirements that we're going to put on the STR permittee or applicants. That would, then the staff would be able to set what those requirements are. And then that would allow us to be able to do concurrent bookings.
yeah.
Okay.
That's good. Okay, I'm fine with that.
Just to help clarify something that was mistyped, I think. Chair.
Yes,
Yeah. Because I suggested a decibel meter and it was written down as a decibel plan.
Decibel meter.
A decibel meter or decibel monitor.
Nuisance plan.
A nuisance plan and a decibel monitor.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Decibel monitor.
That's what I said.
Then get rid of the plan. There you go.
Not read that even with glasses.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay. May I make a motion?
yes.
I move to adopt PC Resolution 2026 recommending that the city council adopt the proposed amendments to Title 17, Article 4 by amending Section 17.42.170 short-term rentals. The proposed ordinance is exempt from environmental review pursuant to Section and section 15061B3 of CEQA guidelines, and including the additions of numbers 1 through 8.
7.
1 through 7.
Go ahead. Allow.
Hold on, I don't think that additions through 1 through 7 make, are you going to renumber it, Guido?
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
There's a button that just says, make a list. Just saying, we could all be out of here by now.
Sounds good. Commissioner Jacobson,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Chair St. John,
Yes.
Vice Chair Woodson,
Yes.
Commissioner Rana,
Yes.
Commissioner Barron.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Booyah.
Third time's the charm. Good job, Commissioner.
I think the general plan is going to be easier.
They have to adjourn. They have to call for the adjournment. So.
Oh. Informational items.
None.
Announcements.
None.
Correspondence.
I got a letter, I got an email from the state saying we should be getting our pro-housing designation in the next month. But that's, yeah. So
I do, and I have an announcement.
Done.
Just so everybody knows, Guido, I sent Guido this notice. I had a conversation with one of the city planners in Seaside last week. And really, I had a question, a completely separate question about Campus Town and then and Light Fighter exit area and First Avenue and what was happening with the traffic now that Duvarty is two-way again and open. And he let me in on a known unknown secret, which is that potentially at the city council meeting for Seaside next week on the 19th, and it's not been the agenda. It wasn't posted as of 5 hours ago. They are looking at discussing the development plans for the open space that's directly south of Duvarty. So the big open space that's bounded by Second Avenue, Light Fighter, Highway 1, and Duvarty, or a mix, some type of mixed residential commercial usage. And they have not informed anybody or in the public of what the plans are. And when I talked to them about it, we don't even know what's going on and what the council is going to do. Now, whether he could tell me that or not is a different story. But the reality is that right now Seaside is getting ready to propose some type of large mixed use development in that open space. And so I mentioned that to us as a commission, because I think that is going to directly impact us from a transportation planning grid, because that was not anywhere in any of our kind of long-term planning that's come up over the last 5 years on that area being developed by Seaside.
Yeah.
So I'm going to attend the meeting.
Second Street quite busy.
It could have a lot of effects for Second Avenue from Duvarty all the way down to the dunes and 8th Street. So I have some comments I'm going to make to the council, and I'm just going to pass it out to you all so you can look at it and keep track and see what the agenda is, because it's not our city, but it definitely has the ability to impact our area, especially the Second Avenue corridor, because we have not decided as a city on whether we are going to open that back up as just one-way traffic like it was before, or whether we're going to make it two-way. And I think also my suggestion, my comment that I'm going to make to Seaside is that they should make the intersection at First Avenue and Light Fighter. They need that one, because that was the main entrance to Fort Ord. They already have the space. So even with that new retention basin that they're putting into Campus Town right there on the corner, they still have the space to put a full roundabout into that area. And the roundabout is about the only way that they could deal with traffic coming off and onto the highway and still make First Avenue a two-way street. Anyway, I just wanted to pass that out, as that was something that could really affect us as the planning commission coming up.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other announcement? Okay. Sure.
Yay.